believe it when I heard that he was gone.
I was just trying to pull him down.
Las Vegas will be resilient through this difficult time, that our students will grow stronger, but also have to deal with a tragedy that should not have happened.
Good morning, Las Vegas.
Morning.
It's been quite a 24 hours, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're back here, partner, where we should be, where we need to be, as we continue to kind of deal with what happened in our city. And we heard it last night during some of the vigils, the one pastor saying, you know, evil showed its face Sunday night, but love, you know, is showing its face now. And boy, oh boy, we need lots of love right now.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
we
getting
do.
it from all over the world. We're going to be with you all morning long, Las Vegas, as we continue to bring you up to date on the very latest that we know. Also, obviously, we want to pay tribute to the victims as their names are starting to pour in. So we've been working hard for you all night long. Hang with us this morning, and we'll get through it together. Dana, you've got the very latest for viewers who maybe, you know, went to bed, turned off the news overnight.
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
Well, things have been changing so much, so we want to make sure that you know the exact details as of this morning. And 59 lives have been lost, with another 527 people injured. Now, the shooter was identified as 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. He lived in Mesquite, and Metro says he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound as they broke into his Mandalay Bay hotel room. 23 weapons were found inside that room at Mandalay Bay. Now, 19 firearms were found in the Mesquite house after they searched yesterday afternoon. Back to you guys.
All right, Dana, thank you. You know, and we know this time is going to come where we begin to learn some of the victims who were killed yesterday. We're beginning to get to have an idea of some of the people. We have 20 of the 59 victims who were killed. They have been identified right now.
Right. They are residents from 7 different states and 2 Canadian provinces, so this really is having an impact all over the world. These are their names. We want to just pause for a moment to pay tribute to them.
Yeah.
Charleston Hartfield,
Who was the off-duty Metro officer who was there at the concert who was killed. We know some of the stories behind some of these names. We're going to sort of get to that throughout the broadcast this morning.
Sonny Melton, Lisa Romero, Jennifer Irvine, Susan Smith, Sandy Casey, Rachel Parker, Jessica Klimchuk.
There you see all these names here, and it's just it's unbelievable when you look at these names and you think about the lives that were lost here in our town. Denise Bertitis, Jack Beaton, Bailey Schweitzer, Jenny Parks, Hannah Ehlers, Nasei Thomas. There you see some of the images right now that we have this morning as we try and figure out that is Sonny Melton. He is the 29-year-old from West Tennessee. He stood in front of his wife, protecting her, shielding her from the bullets, and he was killed.
Yesterday I posted on Facebook. We're just going to go ahead and let these images scroll through for you all. I think if you're thinking what I am, it's they were far too young to lose their lives. A lot of young people here. Just far too young. Yesterday I posted on Facebook the story of one young man, 29 years old. He came to Las Vegas to celebrate his birthday, and he had just returned back from the war, and his mother said, I can't believe he survived war to die at a concert. And that picture I posted yesterday, it's been shared hundreds of times.
Yeah, I shared it.
think because people all over the nation want to begin to wrap their brains around these were human beings, and they want to pay tribute to all of these people, which is certainly what we were trying to do.
It's about recognizing them. It's about honoring them, honoring the lives that they lived, who they were, what they were about, and remembering them for all that they accomplished and for all the people who love them.
Right.
Who so many right now who are hurting this morning.
Right. Parker Collins is live at the Family Reunion Center. We have a team of reporters out. We have 4 reporters out for you this morning at all of the key locations. One of our reporters is at United Blood Services. Jennifer Kastner is at UMC, where dozens of victims were taken. Marissa Keniston is at Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, I believe we're going to start with Parker this morning. Parker.
Todd, I'm in the lot right across from Circus Circus. You can see it's set up for families to meet and to reunite. They've got food over here. This is a place where some people are getting very good news, but you have to understand people are also getting pretty bad news over here. Like one mother we spoke to, she lost her son, a 29-year-old Army veteran, Christopher Roybal. She said as the list of victims and people who were hurt came out throughout the day, she just had this sinking feeling. And it was out here on the Strip where she discovered the horrible truth. He was shot in the chest and he was killed.
I just kept saying, my son, where's my son? I've got to go back in, I got to go get him. And this guy wouldn't let me go back in. He goes, you have to run away from the gunfire, not towards the gunfire. And I wanted to run away from the gunfire, but my heart was pulling me towards it.
Some of these interviews are really hard to listen to, especially hers. And we kept speaking with her, and amazingly, she actually had some positive things to say. That's been the amazing part. We've seen some real resilience and hope here out on the Strip. Back to you.
All right, Parker, thank you so much. And we heard earlier our World News colleagues right before we got on the air saying, boy, we never think of Las Vegas as being a city that has community.
Most people who are not familiar, that's exactly what they think. They think casinos on the Strip. They don't realize the great people who call Las Vegas in the city their home and who love it, and they are full of love. And we saw that outpouring yesterday.
Yeah. Are we going to put the picture up of, I think of Christopher? Are we going to do that? I think just a minute ago we had it. We don't have it. Okay. Well, if you are still searching for information about a loved one or a friend, the hotline is still live. The number is on your screen, 1-800-536-9488. You can call this number to get the most up-to-date information on the missing and the injured. Also, if you have any photos or videos from last night, it may help with the FBI's investigation, and that is the phone number to call to help the FBI, 1-800-255-5324. I think it's important to note this morning, you may not realize there are many family members who do not know if their loved one is alive or dead. And I know 24 hours after this has happened, you're thinking, how could that be? But there are only so many coroners. There are a lot of victims.
Well, right.
And a lot of people still in the hospital, and a lot of people who didn't have IDs on them. So there are families right now who don't know.
We know those reunions, you know, you have to believe and hope that those reunions are still possible, that there are families out there right now. There are 527 people who are injured right now, scattered throughout different hospitals. And so, you know, there are parents right now, loved ones who are in absolute agony as they're waiting to try and figure out what happened to their loved ones. And they're just hoping beyond hope right now that, you know, perhaps they just lost their cell phone and they're in the hospital and maybe, you know, they're not facing life-threatening injuries perhaps, and they just can't get to a phone. So, you know, that is still possible. That is still the possibility that exists right now this morning.
Let's go out to Dana. Dana, you've been watching. This is our home. You've lived here as long as I have, and it's no surprise to you how this community is coming together.
No, this GoFundMe page was started yesterday morning, and already, look at this, $2.9 million. Now, this was started by County Commissioner Steve Sisolak and our sheriff. Yesterday morning, there was a goal of about, I think it was $50,000. Now they've pushed that goal to $3.5 million because they've raised so much money. It's interesting to look at some of the statistics. This has been raised by 42,301 people in 22 hours. And you can see some of the donations here as they pour in, even $10, $100, $10, $20, $10, $50. So even the small amounts have added up to such a large show of support. You mentioned some of the families still don't know, you know, if they've lost loved ones. This money is going to come in handy for those families who need to get places, need to get here, maybe need help with funeral costs, medical care, all that stuff. Here in our community, though, guys, I mean, there's been definitely an outpouring of support even from companies. I know Station Casinos has been offering free rooms to people that need to come to town. The South Point as well has been offering some free rooms. Allegiant Air has offered free flights. So all this coming together to try and help some of those families, because like you mentioned, they're going to need it now, but also as the week goes on, they're probably going to need it even more. Back to you guys.
Dana, thank you. Boy, oh boy, take some comfort in seeing that number. We watched it yesterday, right? We were talking about it. And a lot of these donations, as you were talking about, Dana, are small donations, $10, $5, $2, you know, whatever it is. There have been some large sums, some large chunks donated as well, but the vast majority are $10, $20. Whatever people can afford, they're contributing.
Right. You think something like that, you think, oh, my $10 isn't going to do anything, but look at how it adds up.
All right, Dana, thank you. We should just reference this picture behind us. This is the scene of the shooting. This is where that concert venue was, where all those people were just stuck in there with barriers all the way around them, no way to easily run and get out. So that's where police will continue their investigation today when the sun comes up.
And it's haunting, but this is essentially the view that the shooter had. And you could tell it's just an unfortunate clear line of sight. We are Channel 13. We're owned by a Scripps company that owns a couple stations across the country. And as you can imagine, we're pulling resources from across the country to help us out, to help keep you informed as best as possible. And with that said, we have our reporter from our San Diego affiliate there right now at UMC this morning for us, Jennifer Kastner. Jennifer, hello.
Hi there. Yes, we're here at UMC. As we know, UMC is Las Vegas's largest hospital. It is the only level 1 trauma center in the area. Many of the victims were brought here more than 24 hours ago when this happened. The doctors, the nurses, the EMS personnel routinely train for possible mass casualty situations like this, possible shootings, also other events, earthquakes, floods, fires, and so on. They do drills all the time, of course, never expecting it will actually happen. Danita Cohen, the media relations person for the hospital, said the doctors, nurses, so on, all the staff, they were prepared for this. What they did is they triaged patients outside in the parking lot, assessing who needed more immediate care, bringing them in right away to go straight into surgery. At this time, more than 500 people are injured, many of them here at the hospital at UMC. Right now it's the middle of the night, 4 in the morning. We're not seeing a lot of traffic going in and out of the main entrance. Chances are a lot of the family members, a lot of the friends have decided to try to go home for a couple of hours and get some rest before facing this again tomorrow. Let's go back to you in the studio.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of people involved, certainly I know the first responders, they need that rest. The families need the rest. You got to try and do it somehow, some way.
Yeah, I talked to my husband this morning. He was he's a Clark County fire captain. He was going to go home for 2 hours this morning and sleep, and then he'll be right back. He's stationed at the victim reunification area. It was a hard night there for sure. We want to pause. As difficult as this is for all of us, it's so important that we pay respect to the 59 victims. Again, 20 of them, only 20 have been identified. As we said, they are residents from 7 states and 2 Canadian provinces.
Right, so here are some of the names that we know, and we know some of the stories involved. Charleston Hartfield, we mentioned before, that was the off-duty Metro officer who was at the concert last night. Sonny Melton, I believe he's 29 years old, married, who was at the concert from West Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. His story was he shielded his wife from the bullets, and she lived, he died. Lisa Romero, Jennifer Irvine, Susan Smith, Sandy Casey, Rachel Parker, Jessica Klumchuk, Jordan McDoon, Angie Gomez.
Denise Bertitis, Jack Beaton, Bailey Schweitzer, Jenny Parks, Hannah Ehlers, Nessa Tonks, Carrie Barnett, Doreen Anderson, Christopher Roybal, and Victor Link. And
Nessa Tonks is also another local victim who has been identified, and we're seeing so many of these people who, you know, it's a snapshot of who is in our city at the Strip, right? We have so many people from outside, across the country, even from you know, outside the country, and then plus you have locals who were there, and that's exactly who goes to the Strip. We're seeing some of the images of some of the people who have been identified this morning.
But again, Charles and Nessa are local people, and they've lost their lives. But as we know, there were more than 500 victims. And so we are getting so many stories into our newsroom about local people who were hit and hurt and are in the hospital. So the story's going to unfold for a year, I'm sure. But obviously our hearts are with all those people who are recovering in the hospital as well. The emotional toll and the physical toll it's taking on them and their families.
There was a little silver lining, if I could use that expression, this morning when I went to bed last night, when I basically shut my eyes for a little bit. The number of people killed was at 59 and who were dead. And when I kind of woke up this morning and I looked and I saw that number was still holding at 59, I thought, you know, that was You know, it's hard to say good news. It feels like the wrong expression, but at least that was something to kind of hang on to, because yesterday we only saw that number continuously increase throughout the day. So it was good, at least for a moment, to see that number hold. Good also to see images like this. Food donated, water donated. This is at United Blood Services, one of the locations where people were wrapped around the building, the Salvation Army, where people were wrapped around the building wanting to donate blood, wanting to do whatever they could to help. As a matter of fact, United Blood Services saying we can't take any more people right now. But boy, the outpouring was just incredible. The governor said we need blood, and people responded within minutes. Actually, even before the call for blood, people were already lined up at 3 o'clock in the morning yesterday, just 5 hours after the shooting. And if that doesn't tell you about the heart of this city, nothing else will. And to that end right now, I believe Yasmin Hassan, we're going to join her right now. She is live this morning for us. Yasmin.
Todd, Beth, actually we still have people here right now. They got up early, and these are the same people that we saw here yesterday. You guys came out here yesterday morning. Tell me why, what it was like to be out here yesterday.
It was just amazing being around all these people just here to help and do all they could in a time of crisis, and just seeing everyone come together in unity and solidarity.
And you guys were out here for hours yesterday waiting in this line. It is now 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're back out here. It doesn't open, doors here, listen guys, don't open until 9 a.m. and people are still here. You guys are prepared, you have your drinks, you have your chairs. Tell me why you came back out here knowing that you're gonna have to wait in this line again.
Well, we weren't there to help people that were on the ground getting shot and really in need, and so it's the least we can do, to help the doctors and the people that need blood, that are clinging to life because of a maniac.
Tell me what it was like seeing everyone coming out here yesterday. You saw the line wrapped around the building and all the people coming to drop off donations. What was that like, seeing all of that happen?
It was really heartening. It was, Las Vegas can kind of be a shallow town, people think, and to see everybody from all walks of life come out and just, cars down the street to drop off food, water, snacks, donuts from all walks of life, like I said, was just amazing. The love that was in the air was just, that's what Vegas is about, not the massacre.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So again, if you do want to come down here, doors are scheduled to open at 9 a.m. You can also make an appointment if you can't come down and wait in line. UnitedBloodServices.org. You can get all set up that way, and they'll give you an exact time to come down. Reporting live from United Blood Services, Yasmin Hassan, 13 Action News.
Yasmin, please thank that gentleman. I love the way he put it, the way he worded it. This is what Las Vegas is about, not the massacre, and I just appreciate that sentiment this morning.
Yeah, it's amazing. When Yasmin went there this morning after we had our sort of little news huddle before the broadcast, and we said, okay, let's send Yasmin back out there. I was not anticipating to see that, but to see people already in line. Still there.
Yeah, people want to help. We are hearing incredible stories of people who rush to those in need. And as 13 Action News reporter Joe Bartels shows us, one man found himself in the middle of the shooting scene. His heroic efforts caught on a dash cam.
Dash camera rolling, it's just after 10 o'clock, and retired cop Philip Brittle was just trying to pick up his friend at the airport when he came across a gruesome scene.
I see people limping across the street, people carrying people across the street.
Philip was in his Jaguar convertible, 2 seats, that's it. His dash camera installed just last week, and now he was in a sea of people in need.
What the hell happened? We need cars, we need cars. I'm loading right here. What the hell happened? Have you got a victim?
Yeah, but we got no room for
I can take a small person.
A second later, his dash camera capturing a man carried in a wheelbarrow. He was loaded into Philip's front seat. He had been shot twice.
My intent was to make sure this guy was conscious and that he could maintain a conversation back and forth.
This old cop kept his wits, getting behind an ambulance on the way to the hospital.
I'm dying. I'm at Sunrise Hospital.
Hang tight, bud. We're gonna get you there. Stop, 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 stop.
I flashed my lights, honked my horn, and they allowed us to go through.
Philip says his cop training kicked in and got his injured passenger to the hospital.
The only thing I felt really, really bad about is that I didn't take my larger 4-door car and have room to take more victims to the hospital.
Phillips said his passenger couldn't contact his girlfriend and he didn't get his name. This veteran says he did what he had to do because it was the right thing to do.
Joe Bartels, 13 Action News.
Mr. Phillips, thank you so much. We saw so many videos yesterday of people, ordinary people, just stuck in this unbelievable situation and doing extraordinary things.
Yeah, we heard very similar stories yesterday morning in the hours following the attack, that people's pickup trucks and cars were used to get people out of there. Now, at any large event like that, they always have paramedics on standby. Yeah. Community ambulance was the ambulance crew on standby. They had a number of crews there. So in the seconds following the shooting, they were packing 3, 4, 5 people in each ambulance, which is unheard of. Right. But it was that serious. They were just filling those ambulances with as many victims as they could, piling them in there and racing to the hospital. The problem is there were so many victims.
At that point, there are no rules, there are no procedures. The only rule is to get as many people to help as quickly as possible. And that's the only thing that was on people's minds last night. We saw that over and over again.
That's right. So in the minutes when Community Ambulance had their first batch of patients on the way to the hospital, and before a new batch of ambulances arrived, it was ordinary citizens who were loading those people in their own cars and saving lives. I mean, I can't even imagine how many more victims there would be were it not for all of those heroes.
Yeah, think about that video that we all saw yesterday together of the woman in the pickup truck as another example of someone sort of flagging her down, and she says, let's go, load them up, and off they went. Yeah. All right, we're going to check right now with Marissa Kinniston. She is live there near Las Vegas Boulevard and Russell there outside Mandalay Bay this morning. Marissa, hello.
Good morning, Todd. Yeah, we are right on Las Vegas Boulevard, and obviously we can stand here this morning because the roads are still blocked. Take a look behind me. You can see police completely blocking at least that portion of Las Vegas Boulevard right in front of Mandalay Bay, and of course, excuse me, right in front of the festival grounds. That's because those festival grounds are still a crime scene, and that means they're still filled with people's personal items, stuff they left behind in that rush to get to safety. Metro sent out a tweet saying, we will make arrangements after the scene is processed for people to retrieve their items. Now, I've been looking through the comments. One person said, a phone is a phone. I don't even want it back. Several people commented that they live out of state and already went home. This just goes to show you the gravity of this situation and what's important here. But again, if you do need to retrieve any personal items, if you're wondering how to connect with anything that you might have left behind, you do need to know that police are still processing the scene. They are still here behind me going through every little bit of evidence. And once they are done with all of that, they will release some information on how you can reunite with some of those items, and we will bring that to you as soon as that becomes available too. Guys?
All right, Marissa, right now I just want to talk to the viewers and say that, we haven't talked about the shooter, and that's, for a reason, because we want to talk about the people involved, the victims, the heroic efforts, the community coming together. That's what we want to focus on right now. We're going to get to the shooter and what we know about that later on the broadcast, but we really want to focus on the heart of the city that showed its face yesterday.
And these images are from Nellis Air Force Base. A vigil was held there last night. Several of our troops sat in uniform in chapel holding candles and remembering the 59 lives lost right here in the valley last night. Medical personnel from Nellis did respond and provided care at the UMC Trauma Center following that shooting. So this is their home too, but a lot of their medical personnel came to the rescue.
Yeah, and a lot of people also gathered at UNLV last night to honor the victims, and 13 Action News reporter Brian Callahan was there.
You can see the candles here behind me left during the vigil that was attended by about 1,000 people here on the UNLV campus. A lot of them students who said the shooting so close to the campus made them realize that this could happen anywhere. If it had been a different concert out there that they wanted to go to, they could have been there. Some of them knew friends that were attending the Route 91 festival. Many of them saying when they came to campus they were unsure what it would be like, but were encouraged by what they've experienced.
How the community would take it, and just seeing everyone being there for each other, even though we don't know necessarily who the backgrounds of everyone and where they come from or who they know. To see that everyone here united as a student body is pretty awesome.
And just today at the blood drive, like seeing that there were people in line, like waiting to donate blood and like taking the time, putting in the effort to try to help somebody really does make a difference.
But also I felt like there was kind of like this deep sadness over kind of the city, but also like a bond because everyone's just coming together to help everyone out.
Among the people in attendance at the vigil was UNLV President Len Jessup, who said he was encouraged by the campus community coming together, also saying they're planning to have several other events like this throughout the week to help bring the community together. Reporting at UNLV, Brian Callahan, 13 Action News.
Yeah, a lot of vigils last night here locally, but also across the country, which was also heartwarming to see.
Yes, in Tennessee, country music singers came together to pray in Nashville. A separate vigil was also held for Sunny Melton, a 29-year-old registered nurse, one of the first to be identified.
There were also other places, like you see there on your screen, in Florida and Texas and New Mexico. Everyone sort of coming together last night to take a moment and remember the victims, but also to honor this city and what we're going through.
Buildings all across the world actually were lit up in remembrance, or their lights went dark to remember the victims. This is City Hall here in Las Vegas, though, covered with a bright image of the American flag.
And we also check in here at the High Roller, lit up in red, white, and blue last night.
You heard me say it's been a worldwide call for, for compassion here in Las Vegas. Last night, the Eiffel Tower in Paris went dark to show solidarity with the victims from the shooting. And there you see the lights go out. The Paris Hotel on the Strip went black, too, to show solidarity with France after numerous terror incidents occurred in their country. And so last night, France returned the gesture as we have tried to show respect to France in their times of tragedy. France did that for us.
Yeah, we saw a lot of other, well-known structures. They too went dark last night. The One World Trade Center and the Empire State Building there in New York also went dark.
As we walk you through the events of Sunday night and the vantage point the shooter had, ABC reporter Matt Gutman gives us a look from inside a room at Mandalay Bay as many question security this morning.
And on the face of it, it seems that concert venue was well protected. You can see that fencing around the entire perimeter of that field. But what nobody could have expected is that the shooter would have been perched 32 stories up, blasting through that window right there and firing down on that field.
And there you see that perspective, right? Anyone who's ever been to Mandalay Bay, you know it, and you've looked out through those windows and you've seen it. And security questions and all of that, that's part of the process here. But who knows? This is something that no one saw coming like this.
No, I mean, I think that we heard from Special Agent Rouse with the FBI yesterday, and, I think he put it best. It doesn't matter how prepared we are, because this city really is prepared.
Absolutely.
Our first responders are top-notch. I'd put them up against any in the entire world in terms of their training and their preparation because of the city we live in, events like New Year's Eve and that kind of thing. So they're prepared, but the bottom line is, according to, Agent Rouse, if there's someone who is determined to be evil and arm themselves to the hilt, they can't be stopped. And so I know that's chilling to hear, but it's no reflection of our preparation as a community or law enforcement did a brilliant job from all accounts.
It's a process right now of trying to understand as best we can, what exactly happened. And so maybe if we can learn a little something going forward that they could maybe not, if not prevent, or at least let us educate ourselves going forward about what to do, and as we sort of shape the future of our city and what to do. Again, we're looking at these images, watching them last night. I have to say, I was lucky. I'm lucky. I have a 2-year-old son, so I got a chance to just go home and disconnect for just maybe an hour or two. And my little guy, he's dealing with a cold, and to deal with such mundane issues as my kid's sick, and had to do the dishes and take care of the garbage. I was so grateful to have that moment, because you think about some of these people right now who their families, they would give anything to have those sort of mundane moments again in their lives.
Yeah. Las Vegas, thank you so much for watching this morning. It is 4:30.
like watching a war movie. You feel like you were witnessing something that was fictional, and it didn't really happen, but it did.
Calm down. We're angry, we're grieving, confused. People are hurting.
20,000 people were just like down.
People got lost, people got separated. It was crazy.
We just thought we were going to die. I thought the shooting would never end.
Tough morning as we wake up about 24 hours after the worst shooting in U.S. history. I hate even seeing the graphic massacre on the Las Vegas Strip.
Yeah.
I can't. It upsets me to even read the words on the screen, but that's the reality this morning.
Yeah, and I think Governor Sandoval, you know, him saying last night that we're angry, we're upset, and we're confused, speaks to the heart of so many people right now this morning. We're going to begin right now at the 4:30 hour here, checking in with Dana in the Breaking News Center with the latest information. Dana.
Yeah, we just want to get everyone caught up. If you're just tuning in, things have been changing so much. Here's the deal. Here's what we know right now. 59 lives have been lost. Yesterday we had mentioned it was 58 or 59, and now we have confirmed that 59 people have died. Another 527 people have been injured. Well, the shooter has been identified as 64-year-old Stephen Paddock, and he lived in Mesquite, that's north of Las Vegas. Metro says that he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound as they broke into his Mandalay Bay hotel room. Now, 23 weapons have been found inside his room there at Mandalay Bay. 19 firearms were also found in his home in Mesquite. You may remember police went there yesterday after they discovered who he was and identified him to check out his home and serve a warrant and look through, and so that's what they found when inside. Of course, they'll keep discovering and gathering more evidence and more information, I should say, to figure out more about his background, but that's what we know so far. But of course, I know you guys had mentioned we want to talk more about the victims and honor the lives that have been lost and the people that have been hurt.
We do. Dana, before we go with you, though, police did discover that he had a home up in Reno as well.
They did.
And so they served a search warrant up there, and we're waiting to find out what they found in that home, perhaps even more weapons. Dana, thank you.
A lot to look through.
Yeah, it is a lot to look through. That's right.
Yeah, well, as of this morning, we have 20 of the 59 people who were killed. They have been identified, and so this morning we want to make sure that we recognize them and honor them and share their stories as best we can with you right now. As you can imagine, they're from across the country, from 7 different states, 2 Canadian provinces. Here are some of their names right now. Charleston Hartfield, of course, he was the off-duty Metro officer who was there. Who was killed at the concert. Sonny Melton, the father from west of Nashville, who shielded his wife who was killed. Lisa Romero, Jennifer Irvine, Susan Smith, Sandy Casey, Rachel Parker, Jessica Kumchuk, Jordan McDoon, as well as Angie Gomez. As we try and understand more about these people's lives, we'll certainly bring that to you as well.
Denise Bertitis, Jack Beaton, Bailey Schweitzer, Jenny Parks, Hannah Ehlers, Nasa Tunks, Carrie Barnett, Doreen Anderson, Christopher Roybal. He was a veteran who was celebrating his 29th birthday here in Las Vegas. His mother said he survived war to be killed at a concert. Victor Link.
And Nasa Tonks is their other local victim who has been identified, and here we see some of the images of some of those victims this morning. As we sort of go through the healing process right there, that is the young man from Tennessee who was killed. It's hard. It's hard. We knew this was going to happen, and we knew that the victims would be identified. We'd begin to hear their stories. These are moms, these are brothers, these are sons, these are daughters. You know, you name it. These are good people who were here to have a great time with their friends and family, and their friends and family right now are in mourning.
They are. So as we continue to look at images of just the chaos and the devastation from the night of the shooting, just to you know, to keep in mind that there was a lot of confusion down there. There still is a lot of work to be done. So my husband has a dear friend who works in the coroner's office. She's a remarkable woman. She and the rest of them are working around the clock trying to identify the victims. Reporters, I think, were asking some pretty brutal questions to the coroner yesterday, and the coroner was, you know, kind of a little bit defensive, and I didn't blame him at all. They're doing a phenomenal job, Las Las Vegas, and they have a tough job to do, and they don't want to get it wrong. They don't want to tell someone wrong information. They want to make sure that all of the family members get the right information, and so they need to take their time to correctly identify these victims, and many of them didn't have identification on them, and it's going to take time, but you know, they are doing a great job, a difficult job, and certainly my heart goes out to the coroner's office this morning as they continue this difficult task.
Yeah, everyone wants answers, right? And everyone wants to figure out what happened, what was this guy about. But it's going to take a whole lot of patience, and we have to have respect for those right now in positions like the coroner, the sheriff's department, and the investigators right now who are sifting through all of this as best they can. As we know, normally we cover sort of the normal news stories of the day, and they process, you know, 1 or 2 victims, whether it's through an investigation or through the coroner's office, and that takes days, if not weeks, if not longer. And now we're dealing with a mass casualty event. We're talking about 59 people who were killed, 527 injured. You see the numbers there on your screen. It's going to take time, and it's going to be a slow process, slower than maybe some of us would want, or as far as being able to provide some answers. But we're going to have to have some patience.
Yeah, and we'll continue to try to do our job, which isn't easy. I have to say, it is not easy to be a reporter and ask some of these tough questions, but it really is just our way of trying to get the best information to you, the most accurate information to you that we can. We have 4 reporters out on the streets this morning. Our teams have been working around the clock. As you look again at this video of Jason Aldean on stage at about 9 o'clock, or excuse me, 10 o'clock on Sunday night, and 10:08 is when the first volley of shots rang out. And you know, just to again remind you of how many heroes there are here, I had a sweet conversation last night with Clark County Fire Chief Greg Castle. He is a remarkable man and a good friend, and as we were talking last night, he just sounded exhausted, and he said, Beth, I'm worried about my men and women. I'm worried about them. There is a sadness in those firehouses today. They're bringing in counselors, international counselors, to try to help our first responders deal with what they've seen. Mandalay Bay is bringing in therapists to help people on staff deal with what they've seen. We can't even imagine
what they saw.
We can't even imagine what they've been through.
You know, and I thought about it. I thought, well, geez, you know, last night as sort of preparing for this broadcast today, you know, what is it that I could talk about? What is it that I could say? And to that point, maybe the one thing is if you have a friend, a neighbor who you know was on the first line of defense, there was a first responder, you know, maybe make them dinner, right?
Oh, thanks
you know,
for that.
right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure their family could use that support too.
Yeah,
all right.
Thanks for that. Danny, where do you want to go? I'm just communicating with our producer. Let's go on out to Marissa.
We're going to check out Marissa. She's there at the scene
Mandalay Bay.
at Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, and we are actually right on Las Vegas Boulevard in front of Mandalay Bay, obviously able to stand here this morning because the streets are still closed. But Mandalay Bay is actually open here this morning. It's just the street in front of it, the actual strip, that's closed out here this morning. Mandalay Bay is open to guests. That, of course, happened yesterday. Security was lifted and guests were able to return to their rooms. So even though the streets are closed here on the strip, the hotel and casino is open. Now, I've been keeping my eye on social media. We are seeing reports that it's just very quiet inside. Some people on Twitter saying practically nobody on the casino floor gambling. Tension and sadness there. Of course, Mandalay Bay right across the street from the festival grounds, and those festival grounds are still a crime scene. People, police actually weeding through the evidence there. A lot of personal items left on those festival grounds when people were trying to rush to safety. They say all those items will be available as soon as they are done processing that scene. Guys.
That's a horrible job, too, going through all that stuff that was left behind.
Right now, there are still loved ones out there trying to reconnect, hoping beyond hope right now. They're in agony, hoping that just by chance their loved one's cell phone was lost, and maybe they're in the hospital right now trying to figure out exactly where they are. But they're in absolute agony right now, fearing fearing the worst.
Yeah, I think that's lost. I think a lot of our viewers may not realize there are family members who do not know if their loved one is dead or alive, and the difficult process of reunification is happening down at the convention center. Parker Collins is at the Family Assistance Center. Is that nearby? Is that the same place, Parker?
Beth, we're right across from Circus actually, and it's like you said, this lot, there's a lot of emotions going on here because it might be good news you're getting when you reunify with somebody you love who's alive, but it also, you have to understand, it also might be bad news. They just don't know, and there are people who are uncertain even hours after the fact. And we spoke with one mother who was brave enough, strong enough to speak to us on camera, which understandably a lot of people don't want to do. We get that. She said her son, a 29-year-old Army veteran, died. He was shot in the chest. And she was saying his name, of course, Christopher Roybal. We've been talking about him and showing his pictures because she was brave enough to talk to us. She said as the list of victims and people who were hurt, as those came out throughout the day, she just had this sinking feeling. And it was here on the Strip where she got that terrible news. And despite that news, though, she had some really positive things to say.
This center is the most amazing people. There are the most amazing people in there, ever. They were so helpful and so comforting and so giving us whatever they thought we might need or want, and even if we didn't want or need it.
That's the Las Vegas so many of us have been talking about since this happened. I mean, just that hope and wanting to help and people reaching out, giving her things she didn't even know she needed. So I loved hearing that, and that's why I chose that soundbite. One other thing I do want to mention, we just confirmed a few minutes ago that the local PBS stations are kind of changing up their programming and aiming a lot of their programs at kids, trying to talk about some of these hard issues. I know we were talking about that yesterday. How do we approach the youngest people in our society? How do we talk to them about this? And I think everyone is kind of asking those questions, and at least somebody locally is trying to help. Back to you.
Yeah, Parker, you know, you bring up such a great point. Beth and I are both parents, and you know, I was saying, my wife and I, we're sort of fortunate. Our son's only 2, so we get that chance where we don't have to explain it to him. But I know you, with Dane and Elle, your children are older.
Yeah.
And Parker, that's a great tidbit, because I know so many parents out there right now are trying to figure out how to deal with it, how to talk to their kids, because we don't know. No one's an expert in this, and that's the struggle that a lot of parents are going through right now.
Parker, thank you for your compassionate coverage. I just appreciate your posture and that of all of our team. Our reporters really are fine human beings and care a lot about being sensitive to these victims and their families, and I appreciate that. Parker's heart just really coming through in that report. I wanted to mention he interviewed Christopher Roybal's mom. He's 29 years old from Denver, Colorado. He's the young man I was sharing with you, went away to fight in the war. Yeah. And then thank you to the booth for that beautiful picture of Christopher. I just love it. I posted his picture on Facebook the moment yesterday afternoon his mother gave our station permission, and it's been shared over 600 times, hundreds of people commenting. I share that with you not because I care how many likes it gets, but because it speaks to how many people want to show and honor the victims. I mean, it's strangers who are reposting his picture because it's our way of saying, I need to pay respect to this man. I need to pay respect to this man. And that's happening thousands of times over with all the victims.
You see his image, right? And it just strikes you as that guy, man, you just would like to, buy him a beer and thank him for his service.
Yeah, yeah. We need to let you know that there are still a lot of family members who don't know whether their loved one is alive. And if you're one of those people, I'm confident you have the number, but just in case, 1-800-536-9488.
We should mention that number has changed from the number that we gave out yesterday because they had some problems. That number went down. Remember yesterday it was like 1-866 number.
Right, thank you.
So this has been updated. So if you are trying to get through with that old number and can't, well, there's a reason for it because that's down. So that's the new number there you see on your screen. That's a new number to get out on social media for people outside of Las Vegas who may not know it. It's 1-800-536-9488. Also, right now, we heard about this yesterday. The FBI wants to see any and all photos and videos that you might have. And if you were down there near the scene at the time, before or after, you know, and you took some pictures, and you might even think, well, there's nothing on these pictures. Well, these people, these men and women in the FBI, they're trained to detect things that we cannot. Right. So they want to hear from you. They want you to call that number. Let's put that number back on the screen if we can. It's 1-800-255-5324. That is the number the FBI wants you, is asking you to share your videos and your pictures with them.
Yasmin Hassan is live at United Blood Services on West Charleston. She's been there from the very beginning. Yasmin, as people were lined up yesterday morning, I can't believe it's happening again.
Yeah, yesterday morning we saw people here before doors opened, and that's exactly what we're seeing here right now. I don't know if you can tell, but a few more people have showed up since just a few minutes ago, and even there are some people waiting in their cars out in the parking lot right now. But let's go to the front of the line, because somebody's actually been here before we got here, and I want to talk to him for a second. Tell me what time you got out here this morning.
Like 2.
2 o'clock. And you knew that the doors were opening at 9 o'clock. Tell me why you felt the need to come out here and wait in the line this morning again.
Well, I was here all day yesterday, so I just figured I didn't want to waste, so I just figured I'd just stay and come back today.
What have you been seeing from other people in line? I know people have been talking to each other, trying to comfort each other. What has it been like for you now, day 2 out here?
Not any different than yesterday. There was a lot more people out here yesterday. These guys were here longer than I was, so it's cool they came back. And hopefully we have more people coming out. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So if you do still want to donate blood, the big need right now is for O negative and O positive, but United Blood Services says that all blood types are still in need, and doors are opening here at 9 a.m., but as you can see, people are already lining up. But you can make an appointment, unitedbloodservices.org. Guys, back to you.
Yasmin, it's amazing to see that. And, you know, it's even funny because, not funny, but we're talking about even the national media and how they sort of portray Las Vegas. And you heard them, some of the anchors, talking about Las Vegas and looking at that line that we saw yesterday. And they made the point that, you know, typically most people think of Las Vegas as a place to go party and have fun, and they don't realize that it's a community there with a lot of heart, and that was an example that we showed the nation and the world just how much heart that we have. And
we know that. Yeah. We know that. This is our home, but now the rest of the world is seeing it too. And so many families are hurting from all of this. There are incidents of bravery and heroism.
Yeah, the stories that we're finding out about right now remind us that there's so much love out there in the world. Aiden Hauser is a 5-year-old boy who was separated from his mom during that shooting, and through the power of social media, he was reunited with his family. And 13 Action News reporter David Schumann has the story.
All I remember is seeing my son come out of the garage door, and I dropped to my knees. He ran as hard as he could to me, and we were like one for a second. Like, he just held on to me so tight. I held on. And we just kind of interlocked and just held there, and I just held his head.
The family had spent 3 days at the Route 91 festival. As it wrapped up, Doris Hauser took her daughter to the bathroom, leaving her 5-year-old son with his aunt. Then, chaos.
I lost her, and I think sad because it was just me and my aunt. So I didn't know where my sister was, so I didn't know where to run.
Lindsay Rogers saw Aiden standing alone. She says she did what anyone would have done. She helped.
He was really brave and really good. He didn't cry or anything. He was, I think, just confused.
Lindsay and her friends took a picture of Aiden for Facebook and let the internet do the work. It didn't take long for relatives to see. And now, this family, loving, affectionate, remains intact. David Schumann, 13 Action News.
Boy, that's an image we need to see this morning.
Yeah. It's incredible to think that there were families like that who were separate. We've heard of friends being separated, but it just hadn't clicked with me that mothers and fathers would have been separated from their children as well.
All right, we're going to check back in right now with Dana. Do you have some breaking news for us this morning?
We do. We're continuing to obviously identify and learn more about some of the victims, and a tweet that just came out this morning and a clip from ABC News identifying a 34-year-old. She was part of their Dizzy family, as they say. ABC and Disney, obviously together. They say they're remembering Carrie Barnett, a Disneyland cast member of 10 years who was killed in the Las Vegas shooting. Again, she was 34 years old, and Carrie was here for the concert, and she unfortunately was one of the victims. But gosh, for 10 years, she was one of those Disneyland characters making people smile. And so we remember her this morning, as well as we continue to learn more about people who ended up passing away after the shooting yesterday.
All right, Dana, thank you. And to that end, we've seen so many people from across the country. We're seeing many of the victims, and obviously they're outside of the Las Vegas area. And with that in mind, we have Justin Bruce right now, who's with us here on set. And you got some information. You have family in Pennsylvania and spread out. And
grew up in a small town, 19,000 people in south central Pennsylvania outside of Harrisburg. One of my brothers still lives there. One of his co-workers, he works in a small 40-person office, was here with his wife and at the concert and was shot and just passed away last night. So I'm not sure if that's going to bump the number up to 60, but what a small world. It's 2,300 miles away.
But Justin, have you seen his name on our list of identified victims?
No, definitely not the list of identified victims, and just passed away a couple hours ago.
Yeah, so the number may remain at 59, but now we'll add his name to the list of people we have identified, perhaps. But I think it does speak to this ongoing process and the tragedy of it. He just passed away at 2 a.m. Please extend our condolences to your brother and his colleagues.
Yeah, and the man was here with his wife, so it's such an awful thing to think about.
And we know right now that there's so many of the 527 people who were injured. They are in critical need of care. They're at hospitals spread out across the valley right now. And Jennifer Kastner, a reporter from our sister station from San Diego, is at UMC for us this morning. Jennifer, what can you tell us right now?
UMC, unusually quiet, but it is about 4:45 in the morning, so chances are, as we've been reporting, a lot of friends and family members, loved ones have gone back home to their hotels to try to get a little bit of rest, maybe a little bit of sleep before facing this again today. There's some other media outlets down the street. We've been watching the main entrance to the ER just behind us. Not a lot of traffic coming in and out at this time. That will likely change, though, in the next couple of hours. UMC took in, as we're being told, several of the patients in this shooting. More than 500 people were injured. We're being told that more than 100 of them are here in various parts of the hospital, many of them probably in the OR right now, in the ER, many of them trying to recover in the ICU. The hospital needs blood. As we've been reporting, they need O negative and O positive. You can make blood donations by going to the United Blood Services. They have various locations here in Las Vegas. You can also make it at the UMC SN Delta Point on Rancho. You've probably seen the signs if you've been on the 15 freeway, the billboards that are saying donate blood now. That is definitely something that they need. Also the Labor, Health, and Welfare Clinic. We have a list of all these different places and the other resources available on our website on ktnv.com. We're going to stay out here all morning, though, and continue to monitor what's going on outside of UMC. Let's go back to you in the studio.
Jennifer, thank you, and thank you for coming to Las Vegas to help us with our coverage. We do appreciate it. We know it's been a long several days for you as well. Years ago, I had the privilege of being in the trauma center all night long. I was working on a story and got some exclusive access to the trauma center, and in the night I was there, the 12 hours, one shooting victim came in, and I remember being overwhelmed as a reporter. What's happening? What are you trying to keep track of all the steps, because they're doing x-rays at the same time they're doing this, at the same time they're doing. Now multiply that. I cannot even imagine what that trauma center was like, but the people who work in those trauma centers, man, are they gifted, gifted medical workers. They work fast and they work as a team. They're incredible.
And I think it was, I might be wrong here, but I think it was David Schumann last night who tweeted, who talked to, I believe, a surgeon or someone at UMC who said that they had recently just been visited with a surgeon or emergency personnel from Orlando who obviously dealt with the Pulse nightclub shooting. Now that happened maybe a couple of weeks ago, and this person that he was talking to credited credited that visit with sort of helping them prepare for this tragedy that we are dealing with here, because when you look at the numbers and when you consider the extent of injuries, when you think about the weapons that were used and how many people were maimed and the sheer volume of it, it was overwhelming. But our staff at our local hospitals, they are saving lives through their expertise, through their training, and they're going to need our support too right now.
A lot of professionals doing their jobs, including investigators, Dana, who want to figure out why, and all of us want to know why, and so far, no answers.
No, the number one question I've been getting is what's the motive behind all of this? People just don't seem to understand why anyone would do this and what the reason is. So our investigative team is uncovering even more details about the shooter's past on the Las Vegas Strip. Contact 13 Chief Investigator Darcy Spears discovered a lawsuit Stephen Paddock filed for a slip and fall at the Cosmopolitan back in 2011. And this morning, Darcy has more details on the surveillance video from the case.
On October 30th, 2011, Stephen Paddock was a guest at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. In the lawsuit, he says that as he left a store in the hotel, he slipped and fell on some liquid that had been spilled on the floor, allegedly tearing a hamstring, spraining a wrist, and racking up $32,000 in medical bills. Court records show Paddock was en route to the hotel's high-limit gambling area when he fell. The case went to arbitration on July 31st, 2014. As part of that, the Cosmopolitan showed surveillance video of Mr. Paddock's fall.
And what the video showed is that there was nothing on the floor, that other guests were able to walk through the same area over and over again without having any difficulty. And we also had one of the cleaning people walk through the area about 50 seconds before the fall.
Paddock testified there is no way you were going to see liquid on the floor, but the Cosmopolitan's attorney, Martin Kravitz, says there was more to it.
What we saw from the tape was a man who was probably drunk, who, when he was just walking casually, and because his foot slipped off the sandal, he wound up doing the splits. He slipped and both legs went in opposite directions.
The arbitrator ruled against Paddock and in favor of the Cosmopolitan Hotel. Kravitz says Paddock was a known gambler who for years has frequented many Las Vegas properties.
And in terms of being a witness, he was not aggressive, he was not violent. He was not the kind of guy that you would have thought was going to go out and pull assault rifles and try to kill people.
Sources in the legal community tell us that over the last few days, Paddock is rumored to have lost a lot of money on video poker. There's no way to tell whether that was part of the motive for the shooting, but it may have played a role in his mindset. Darcy Spears, 13 Action News.
All right, well, as new details emerge about the horrific shooting, we are learning more also about the gunman's close family ties. Stephen Paddock's father, Benjamin, was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list.
You guys don't print anything, you don't tell anything but lies, you have never been on my side, forget it.
Well, his father was wanted for robbing several banks in Phoenix, Arizona during the late 1950s and early 60s. Now, eventually he was arrested in Las Vegas. He escaped jail in Texas, fled to California, and then changed his name to Bruce Erickson. Well, he then ended up in Springfield in 1977 to open up a bingo parlor, which was listed as a religious institution on Main Street. But police say that the parlor was a criminal enterprise for gambling.
We are simply a church, and there's no way for them to escape it.
Well, reports say there are 2 full books worth of crime rap sheets for Bruce Erickson. Police say Erickson is long gone by now, but some wonder if his son's upbringing by a career criminal served as any inspiration for the mass shooting. Beth, Todd?
Yeah, you do have to wonder. I mean, especially since we have nothing else to go on.
Yeah.
No other clues about why he might have done this.
Yeah, and I think the brother had mentioned in Orlando last night when we heard from Stephen Paddock's brother that the two of them really, the father wasn't necessarily in the picture, but still, obviously, he's still their dad, and so you can't help but wonder if there is that possible connection somewhere in the deep recesses of his brain somewhere.
So this picture behind us shows where so many officers will be continuing to pore over evidence, where so many people's belongings were left behind, where so many people lost their lives. And because of that investigation, there are still some road closures that people need to know about, Justin.
Beth, that is right. We have fewer road closures right now than we did at this point yesterday, but Las Vegas Boulevard remains closed from Tropicana to the north down to Russell, bounding it on the south. As far as I know, all of the other side streets that were closed yesterday have been opened. Just to give you some perspective, the Welcome to Las Vegas, fabulous Las Vegas sign is just south of the closure. This would include, obviously, Mandalay Bay, the Luxor up toward Excalibur, and also Hooters. So from Trop all the way down to Russell, Las Vegas Boulevard remains closed until further notice. Now let's flip the maps and talk about our forecast. It is much cooler outside in the low to upper 50s around the valley, but it is calm. Not much wind now. Later this afternoon, we will see some wind, gusts of 25 to 30 miles per hour in the afternoon and the evening forecast. A little warmer though, mid-80s today and tomorrow. No rain, guys, no exceptionally strong wind after today to worry about the rest of the week.
All right, Justin, thank you. We're going to take a moment right now and look at some of the images that happened in our city on Sunday night, and some of the images right now of tragedy and also some heroism there as you see people holding hands, running away from the gunfire, making sure that they're okay. You see people there hugging. It is emotional. It is a lot of people right now are hurting this morning.
You're watching Good Morning Las Vegas at 5 a.m. And you're looking at pictures of one of the many victims there as we begin the difficult task of sharing with you more and more names as the coroner continues the difficult task of identifying all of these victims. Good morning to you, Las Vegas.
Yeah, so far I think it's 20 of the 59 victims have been identified. We're going to tell as many of their stories as we possibly can. But let's begin right now at the 5 o'clock hour with Dana at the Breaking News Center. Dana.
The latest information, here's what we know, and here is the updated information. 59 lives have been lost with another 527 people injured. The shooter right behind me here identified as 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. He lived in Mesquite, that's north of Las Vegas. Metro says that he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now this is as they broke into his Mandalay Bay hotel room. They found him inside with that self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now 23 weapons were found inside the room after police went inside, looked around and investigated. Now 19 firearms were found inside the Mesquite house as well, and so obviously they have uncovered a great amount of weapons that he had not only in the room but inside his home too in Mesquite. He also did own a home in the northern part of Nevada near Reno, and so they'll be investigating that house as well.
Yeah, Dana, we heard last night that there were reports or indications that he got those weapons, many of those weapons, up into the hotel room with suitcases and had maybe as many as 10.
Right. You know, that, and then also where he got the firearms, a gun store in Mesquite that said that he had the proper paperwork and everything. So, I mean, there's so much more that, you know, kind of needs to be pieced together as everyone questions what was the motive behind this? How did he get all these weapons? Why did he have them all to begin with? And we just don't know.
All right, Dana, thank you. Well, as we're talking about, as things stand right now, 20 of the 59 victims have been identified. We're going to do our best to respect them and tell you about their lives, who they were. As we can assume, so many people were from outside of Las Vegas, from 7 different states and at least 2 Canadian provinces.
These are their names. Charleston Hartfield, now he was the off-duty Las Vegas Metro officer who was killed. Sonny Melton, Lisa Romero, Jennifer Irvine, Susan Smith, Sandy Casey, Rachel Parker, Jessica Klimchuk, Jordan McLeodune, and Angie Gomez.
Denise Bertitis, Jack Beaton, Bailey Schweitzer, Jenny Parks, Hannah Ayers, Nasa Tonks, Carrie Barnett, Doreen Anderson, Christopher Roybal, Victor Link. We should also mention that Nasa Tonks is another one of our local victims here in Las Vegas who has been identified.
All right, Dana has new breaking news. Let's go to the Breaking News Center.
All right, thanks so much. Yeah, this, just getting some new information in about some teen twin sisters. A story of survival. Let's play this clip for you. It was just played on Good Morning America.
While we have you, Natalia, do you have anything to say to your sister?
I just want to, I don't know, we're very strong twins, and I feel like everyone should just be impacted on this. And just to be thankful that we have lives, and just keep believing, and you never know when it's going to happen to you, so just keep thinking everything about life. And I just love you, Gianna, so much. Thank you for this process, and it could have been worse.
I love you too.
So both of them shot during the Las Vegas shooting, and there they are able to talk on, looks like a FaceTime or satellite there, to talk to each other on GMA this morning. So a little bit of hope there that some people, you know, that were hurt are going to recover, be back home, and be okay, you guys.
Thank you for that, Dana. All right, as we begin now the mourning process and the healing process, we have a team of reporters out there this morning. We're going to check back in right now with Marissa Kinniston. She is live for us outside Mandalay Bay this morning. Marissa.
Yeah, Ton, and you can see that Las Vegas Boulevard is still blocked off here this morning. You can see those barriers right here behind me where the strip is, parts of the strip are closed, at least the portion right in front of Mandalay Bay, and of course right in front of those festival grounds. That's because those festival grounds are still a crime scene, and that means they're still filled with people's personal items, stuff they may have left behind in that rush to get to safety. Now, Metro sent out a tweet saying, we'll make arrangements after the scene is processed for people to retrieve their items. Now, I've been looking through the comments. One person said, a phone is a phone. I don't even want it back. Several people commented that they live out of state and already went home. So this just goes to show you the gravity of this situation and just what's important here. I think that's what, you know, we've been talking about this whole time. What exactly is important coming out of all of this? But again, if you do have personal items that were left on the festival grounds, police will release information on how you can get those back as soon as they are done processing this scene. Guys?
All right, Marissa, thank you. And at this hour right now, so many families, they are hurting. They are in agony as they're trying to reconnect with their loved ones, hoping beyond hope that it's just a matter of miscommunication and mistiming, perhaps, as explaining why they haven't heard from their loved ones.
I would be hoping the same thing. Yeah. If I hadn't heard, I'd be thinking maybe because you just can't fathom the alternative, which is that your loved one could be in the morgue. Parker Collins is live at the Family Assistance Center near the Convention Center. And Parker, what a tough spot for all of those victims' family members to be in.
Beth, it's like you said, I mean, this is a place where you could get really good news, or you could get some of the worst news of your life. You might be able to see it a little bit behind me. It's set up. They've got chairs, food and drinks, and somebody who's staffing it just to make sure everything is fresh. And if anybody does show up here, they'll have exactly what they need. And we were able to speak with one mother who said her 29-year-old son, he's an Army vet, he was shot in the chest and he died. His name is Christopher Roybal. We've been showing his picture all morning, sharing just his story because his mother was brave enough to speak with us on camera. And you have to understand, I mean, we don't want to go up to these parents. I hate approaching people and asking these kind of questions. It's terrible, but I mean, you have to do it. You have to share their stories and let people know who they were. And she wanted to go on camera. She wanted to talk about him and the struggles that they went through together. I mean, he survived a war and was shot and killed at a country music festival on the Strip.
I just kept saying, my son, where's my son? I've got to go back in, I got to go get him. And this guy wouldn't let me go back in because you have to run away from the gunfire, not towards the gunfire. And I wanted to run away from the gunfire, but my heart was pulling me towards it.
I mean, you can hear her mother's instinct in that soundbite, right? She wanted to run toward gunfire. Nobody wants to do that, but it was clearly for her son. So we kept speaking with her, and amazingly, toward the end of the interview, she had some really positive things to say that really gave me hope, and I think that's giving us a lot of hope, right? I mean, we're hearing some amazing inspirational stories, and for a lot of us, including myself, that's how we're able to keep going. Back to you.
Yeah, Parker, we were starting to hear more and more stories like that, like Dana just brought us with the twins, you know, family, loved ones who were there at the concert together, and they got separated, and boy, oh boy, thank you so much for that.
If you are still searching for information about a loved one or friend, the hotline is still live, but as Todd pointed out earlier, the phone number has changed, so we want to get it to you again. 536-9488 is the correct number now. Police had to change the number. The other one went down. 1-800-536-9488.
They also, if you were there at the Strip or near that festival last night, before, during, or even after the shooting, the FBI, they really want all the pictures and the videos that you might have. I know you might think, well, maybe it's not a big deal. This picture really, or this video shows nothing. You know, let them decide that. They really want to hear from you. So call that number there on your screen. It's 1-800-255-5324. Again, 255-5324.
Just very quickly, because there are over 500 victims who have been injured, there's no way for us to know all of their stories. But I did want to mention to you that I did catch wind and was able to just confirm that 2 Faith Lutheran high school seniors, 2 female high school seniors, and 1 male alumnus were among those injured. All of them are in stable condition and recovering in local hospitals. I saw a picture of one of these female seniors on a girlfriend's Facebook, and it was she's a cheerleader, and that's what made me think, wait, what's happened? My friend just posted it's hit close to home, and a picture of this cheerleader from Faith Lutheran High School. So some very young people, local people who are in the hospital right now, and our prayers and our well wishes go out to the 3 people affected at the Faith Lutheran family. Now, again, those are just 3 I've just heard about. There are over 500, and we'll be doing our best to bring you those stories in the coming days.
Sad to hear that they were shot, but good to hear that they're in stable condition. So that's promising news.
Yes.
We saw yesterday those lines at the blood banks, and boy, oh boy, we're seeing it again this morning, Yasmin.
Yeah, that's right, Todd. It's been difficult to drive around town seeing all of the flags lowered. But if this line does not restore your faith in humanity, I don't know what will. People have been out here for hours. They were out here yesterday all day long. And people all over the world have been seeing this news and following the story. What do you want people to know about our community today?
Just that we're not the glitz and glamour. This is everybody's home. It's just like any other community. It's it's a lot of fun in a 24-hour town, but it's it's families and neighbors and love more than anything else.
And you guys have been out here for 2 days now, just hoping that you can help. Tell me what it's been like talking to people.
All right, well, unfortunately, we had some technical problems there with Yasmin. We're going to check back in with her in a short time. But let's go out to Dana. You have some new information this morning on one of the victims. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, unfortunately, a number of victims. We wanted to just bring you some of the names and some of the faces of these victims. Bailey Schweitzer of Bakersfield, California. Now, she graduated from Centennial High School and helped run her family's business over at the Bakersfield Speedway. And then there was an attorney, a San Diego attorney, Jennifer Irvine, there she is. Sandra Casey, special ed teacher from California. And then 29-year-old Sonny Melton, a registered nurse from Tennessee. There he is with his wife, who he was at the concert with. She did survive. So obviously, just some of the faces that we are seeing this morning, some of the people who didn't make it after the shooting yesterday. How can you help? You may be wondering, well, there's been an amazing show of support, and I want to show you this GoFundMe page. This was set up by our Clark County Commissioner Steve Sisolak and also the Sheriff of Metro, Joe Lombardo. And boy, they started out with $10,000 and just a goal of $50,000, and now we're at $2.9 million, really inching up toward $3 million. You can see the goal at 3.5. They kind of keep pushing it because I think they're surprised at how much money is coming in. When we're looking, you can see 42,878 people have donated in just 23 hours. Earlier, that was at 41 when we began the day today, and you can see just some of the donations here: $50, $100, $50, $25, even $10, a lot on here. So it adds up. If you did want to donate and you want to help and maybe you want to write a little something on the board, the money will go toward the Las Vegas Victims Fund. So there are a lot of people who are trying to find loved ones, people who are injured that maybe want their family in town or are going to have medical costs. And so this will help with all of that. If you want to donate, it will definitely come in handy because, gosh, that number up above 500 of just people injured and then so many people who have passed away. So they'll need this money. And it's great to see the showing of support in such a short time.
You know, Dana, and you bring up a really good point because when you consider the weapon that was used, the weapons that were used last night, the injuries are extensive. And some of these people who are injured, they're going to need serious medical care for a really long time, and they're going to need that kind of financial support. It was also great to see that, and thank you for pointing that out, Dana, that we're talking about, you know, more than 42,000 people, many people donating $5, $10, $20, whatever it is they can. Now, there have been some really large donations as well. And County Commissioner Steve Sisolak last night held a press conference. He got pretty emotional about it, and well, let's listen to him.
When we started it, we set the goal at $500,000. We got to $100,000, and one individual called and said, I will get you to your goal. And he donated $400,000. That individual was anonymous until now. He has said that we could release his name. It was Stephen Klubeck, donated $400,000 to support this community.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I've known Steve Sisolak for many years. I've interviewed him many times. I've talked to him on the phone many times. Never seen that side of him. I think he's just so poised all the time. And to see him get choked up over the outpouring of support and the toll this is taking on our community leaders who have also been on the front lines, comforting family members, working with the sheriff, trying to get him resources. They haven't had much sleep. When I talked to the Clark County fire chief last night, he said, I just raced home to try to shut my eyes for an hour. And, you know, so these guys are running on empty.
You could see it on his face. You could see it on the face of Sheriff Lombardo when we last heard from him yesterday afternoon. They need our support too. So if you're friends with them and neighbors with them, you know, do what you can to help them out. We said maybe make dinner. If you live next to a first responder or someone whose wife or husband works at one of the hospitals, and you know right now the people at home are trying to do everything they can to keep the home life going. Maybe one thing we could all do is we have a neighbor or friend is, you know, make a casserole, bring it over, help them out. I'm sure it'll
help
go
with
a long way.
childcare, pick up kids after school. I mean, yes, I think those simple things are a great way to love all of our first responders. Many of them have been on the clock for hours at UMC, and Jennifer Kastner is there live. Jennifer, thank you. You're part of our Scripps family. You flew in to give all of us some relief. Thank you for your reporting today from UMC.
Oh, thank you, Beth. Well, right now what the hospital needs the most is blood donations. You've seen the signs if you've been driving around the city, if you've been on the 15 freeway, the billboard saying donate right now. You can do that at one UMC location of Southern Nevada, the Delta Point location on Rancho, also the United Blood Services locations throughout the city, the Labor, Health, and Welfare location. What they need the most is the O negative and the O positive, but they will take any and all donations. At this time, I've been reading through some of the tweets that have come out about UMC, all sorts of tweets. This one person just a few minutes ago wrote, "My babies were born in UMC. UNLV is my alma mater. My heart aches for my former home city of Las Vegas." A lot of emotion. This other person wrote, "I worked trauma for over 20 years, including my last 5 years at UMC in Las Vegas. GSWs, that's gunshot wounds, are horrific for the body. The body can cause severe damage." Another person wrote, "Thank you to Las Vegas T-Mobile family for providing UMC Hospital with over 150 chargers, phone chargers. Proud to be a part of the T-Mobile family." All sorts of tweets, many of them talking about the people who are giving back to help all of the patients who are in the hospital. Right now, we're being told about 100 of the shooting patients are inside just behind us. What parts of the hospital they're in, we don't know. If they're in the ER, some of them likely in the operating room at this time or trying to recover in the ICU. We will likely hear from some of their friends and family members throughout the day. Let's go back to you.
All right, Jennifer.
Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing this story with us about the cell phone chargers, because a lot of those folks, their phones had died and they couldn't reach family members, right?
That's what we've been hearing, and it's nice to see that businesses like T-Mobile, possibly other carriers, are trying to help out some of these family members.
Yeah, our cell phones are our lifeline.
Yeah.
And when the battery, we've all been there when the battery dies in non-emergency situations, but imagine this one.
You probably don't remember people's phone numbers offhand nowadays, so if you don't have it memorized, you're in trouble. We want to take a look right now at some of the video that we got in from Chopper 13 yesterday, showing Mandalay Bay. And I know, Beth, with your source, you really sort of helped illuminate what exactly went inside that room. And we're saying these are really haunting images here to see that window there, and we know sort of just around the corner there was a second window that was also knocked out, shot out, whatever. But that is the 32nd floor there at Mandalay Bay, and it's tough to look at. It's tough to look at and tough to think about what happened there.
One of Dana's Metro sources told her, Dana, the room, when I went inside the room, it was just chilling. That was the word that he used. My Metro source told me that this guy had built platforms so that he could have an even better angle. I mean, I don't even know how else to word it. A better angle from his perspective. Right. Anyway, it's just horrific what he did inside that room, and as we learn about all of the ammunition and the weapons he had in the room, it really is devastating. And so Chopper 13 giving us that picture. At last check, the entire hotel was back open for business except the 32nd floor, and it will be interesting in the coming weeks and months to see how Mandalay Bay handles that, because nobody wants that room. No. It's just horrific. It's horrific. So the 32nd floor is closed.
Yeah, a lot of questions going forward about what to do with the festival grounds that we see behind us. And these are some of the issues that we will all as a community have to face and have to address. But for now, we want to go back now to some of the more incredible stories that we're hearing of some of the bravery from normal, everyday men and women who were doing extraordinary things among so much chaos and pain last night.
This one really is an amazing story. 13 Action News reporter Joe Bartels found a man who found himself in the middle of the shooting scene, and his heroic efforts were caught on a dash cam.
Dash camera rolling, it's just after 10 o'clock, and retired cop Philip Riddle was just trying to pick up his friend at the airport when he came across a gruesome scene.
I see people limping across the street, people carrying people across the street.
Philip was in his Jaguar convertible, 2 seats, that's it. His dash camera installed just last week, and now he was in a sea of people in need.
What the hell happened? We need cars, we need cars. I'm loading right here. What the hell happened? Have you got a victim? Yeah, but we got no room. I can take a small person.
A second later, his dash camera capturing a man carried in a wheelbarrow. He was loaded into Philip's front seat. He had been shot twice.
My intent was to make sure this guy was conscious and that he could maintain a conversation back and forth.
This old cop kept his wits, getting behind an ambulance on the way to the hospital.
I'm dying. I'm at Sunrise Hospital.
Hang tight, bud. We're gonna get you there. Stop, 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 stop. I flashed my lights, honked my horn, and they allowed us to go through.
Philip says his cop training kicked in and got his injured passenger to the hospital.
The only thing I felt really, really bad about is that I didn't take my larger 4-door car and have room to take more victims to the hospital.
Philip said his passenger couldn't contact his girlfriend and he didn't get his name. This veteran says he did what he had to do because it was the right thing to do.
Joe Bartels, 13 Action News.
To think that's one story and there were hundreds just like it happening at the exact same time.
Mr. Riddle, thank you. That was an unbelievable job last night. Not even knowing at that point what exactly was going on. He just saw the chaos and thought, okay, this is not normal. I'm not going to continue on to the airport to pick up my friend. I'm going to stop, figure out what's going on, and I'm going to help.
Right, and it was a very similar situation for cab drivers, Lyft, Uber drivers who were down in that area. They stepped in to help, offering free rides for people needing to flee the gunfire. One cab driver says she was waiting for passengers near Mandalay Bay before she heard the first shots ring out.
I first heard a couple of pops, and I just thought it was fireworks or firecrackers coming from across the street at the venue, the Harvest Festival venue. And after a while, then you started hearing a lot more, and that's when I decided to turn my video camera on my cell phone. And then it just continued to keep going and going and going.
Well, another taxi driver shared this picture right here of their passenger's cell phone. Look at this. This is a bullet apparently that shattered that phone during the attack. The phone's owner was not shot, but just a small example of, boy, oh boy, even people who survived who were not shot, they came within inches, centimeters of utter destruction. And they talked about that last night. We heard, yesterday morning, from so many people who say they could hear the bullets. They could see the ground sort of kicking up the dust. Just how quick their lives could have changed, and how fortunate they consider themselves to be.
Well, as we continue to learn more about the victims, Dana, I know as you're watching social media, you're seeing more pictures, more names.
Yeah, it's really sad to even read about the backgrounds and the lives that these people had. It's awful, but let's go through some of them because we want to honor them too and let people know. Lisa Romero, she was actually a secretary at a high school in Gallup, New Mexico, and she was one of the people that died there at the festival. Then there's Jessica Klimchuk. Now, she was 28 years old and from the province of Alberta, but she had actually been visiting Las Vegas with her boyfriend. She was a school librarian, a bus driver, and a mother of 4 kids. So just so sad there. Also, Quentin Robbins, 20 years old. Now, an aunt of Quentin's who worked as a recreation assistant for the city of Henderson wrote on Facebook that her nephew was among the dead, and she said, "I can't say enough good about this sweet soul." And she said everyone who met him loved him, his contagious laugh and his smile. Gosh, so young, 20 years old. And then ABC put out this saying, "Our Disney family remembering Carrie Barnett." We just learned this morning. She was a Disneyland cast member of 10 years. She was killed in the Las Vegas shooting as well. So those are just some of the faces, guys. And gosh, so many people died. We're going to see more and more names and start to learn a little bit more about these people. But I think it's important to share their stories as well.
Oh, Dana, I agree, Dana. And you can't help but wonder, did the shooter even care?
No.
Did he even stop to think that these were human beings? Like you said, a nephew, a school secretary, someone working for Disney.
Yeah, we heard words last night describing the shooter as a coward and a lunatic, and I think that pretty much says it. I mean, I think of that young woman who worked at Disneyland, Dana, who's a character. My wife and I took our 2-year-old son there for the first time in late August.
Yeah.
And you sort of think, was she the one who was behind the Minnie costume? And boy, oh boy. It's hard to look at. Thank you so much.
People of all ages, went to that concert. So that's what we're seeing. People of all sorts of backgrounds and ages, and people love their country music. And so they were just there having a good time. You did mention the shooter. I wanted to point something out, guys, some information that we've learned a little bit about, because so many people have questions. How did the shooter get these guns? Why did he have so many? And we did learn some more information. The gun shop in Mesquite, I believe that it was actually called Guns and Guitars. Apparently, they have confirmed that he was a customer and he purchased firearms from the store. And all checks and procedures were followed. They actually issued a statement that they put out saying, "We mourn for this tragedy and our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the lost and injured. Mr. Paddock was a customer and purchased firearms from our store. However, all necessary background checks and procedures were followed as required by local, state, and federal law. He never gave any indication or reason to believe that he was unstable or unfit at any time. We are currently cooperating with the ongoing investigation by local and federal law enforcement in any way." And that was from Chris Sullivan there. From Guns and Guitars, the owner of that gun shop there in Mesquite. So we're starting to learn more about how he possibly got these weapons, because there are so many questions of going, 23 in the hotel room, 19 in his home in Mesquite. Why would anyone have all these?
Yeah, and as we heard last night from police and his family, they sort of back up the statement there by the gun owner, which is police are saying he had no known criminal history.
Right.
The brother was saying that he was, he lived a sort of normal life in the sense that, he paid his bills, he He was a retired accountant, I believe. He enjoyed gambling, so there's nothing that would sort of pop up on the radar screen. We should also mention that, you know, you can buy lots of guns legally, and then you could also turn to the black market for ways to make those guns now illegal. Now, we don't know exactly what happened here. We're going to try and figure that out, but that's certainly one of the possibilities to think about this morning.
Definitely.
All right, Dana, thank you. Last night, a vigil was held at Nellis Air Force Base, and the pictures are really moving as troops sat in uniform in chapel, holding candles and remembering the 59 lives lost right here in the Valley last night. Medical personnel from Nellis responded and provided care at the UMC Trauma Center following the shooting.
All right, let's do a quick check right now of our weather and traffic. Justin, what's going on?
Todd, as far as the weather is concerned, it's about 10 degrees colder outside this morning. We are in the low 50s in parts of the valley. Temperatures range from the 50s into the low 60s in a couple of spots. We'll keep the forecast real brief. Look for a warmer afternoon, probably in the low, maybe the mid 80s, forecasting a high of 84. Pretty good dose of sunshine. The one weather hiccup today, by the afternoon into this evening, some pretty strong winds from the southeast. We could see some gusts of 20 to 30 miles per hour for the drive home from work. Temperatures remain in the 80s through the end of the work week. Temperatures back in the low 90s as we roll into your weekend. Allow me to shift gears and talk to you about traffic. Still have that road closure, Las Vegas Boulevard completely shut down from Trop to the north, all the way down to Russell on the south. If you're on Russell, you can turn south onto Las Vegas Boulevard. As a matter of fact, Marissa Kinniston broadcasting live from just about that location, but Las Vegas Boulevard still shut down from Trop to the north to Russell to the south. Other roads in that area are now open. Also watching an accident on the 15 southbound lanes just north of Charleston, and that backup extends through the Spaghetti Bowl.
Like watching a war movie, you feel like you were witnessing something that was fictional, and it didn't really happen, but it did.
Calm down.
We're angry, we're grieving, confused, people are hurting.
20,000 people were just like down.
People got lost, people got separated. It was crazy.
We just thought we were going to die. I thought the shooting would never end.
Good morning, Las Vegas. It is 5:30 a.m. the day after, and boy, it's been a rough 24 hours as we've continued to learn more about the shooter and more about all of these victims who lost their lives here in Las Vegas Sunday night.
Yeah, we're thinking about the governor's words. We're angry, we're grieving, we're confused. I still think of that, and I think, yeah, that kind of goes through sort of the gambit of the main emotions that I know I'm dealing with. I know so many of us in the newsroom are dealing with as we try and figure out exactly, you know, what happened here, what this guy was thinking, what he was doing, while also honoring the victims and their lives, and also keeping in top of our minds those families out there who still have yet to reconnect with some of their loved ones who were at that concert.
We are going to start with Dana Roselli in the Breaking News Center just to bring you the very latest. I'm sure a lot of our viewers, Dana, needed to walk away from the TV for hours overnight and yesterday. We're glad for that, but we want them to know what we know right now.
Sure. Yeah, we did say yesterday that 58 or 59 people had died, and we did confirm that 59 lives have been lost. Now, another 527 people have been injured, and we are learning a lot of those people are critical, so that number of 59 could go up. Actually, Justin's brother's friend there, a co-worker, found out some information as well, and so that number could be up to 60. We aren't sure. That number could climb today, unfortunately. Now, the shooter has been identified as 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. He lived in Mesquite. Metro says that he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, that was as they broke into his Mandalay Bay hotel room. That's what they discovered. 23 weapons were found inside the room as well. 19 firearms were found at his home in Mesquite that we showed you yesterday. We were up there as well as they served a warrant and went through the home. So they have found over 40 weapons in total, and they have also learned of a home up in northern Nevada as well that they'll be going through, and so we might learn concerned that maybe there's more weapons up there. We aren't sure. But again, that's what we know today. 59 people have died, more than 500 injured. And again, they found more than 40 weapons combined between the hotel room and his home in Mesquite. Beth, Todd.
All right, Dana, thank you. Well, as of 5:32 this morning, right now, there have been 20 of the 59 victims who have been identified. They are residents, as you can imagine, from 7 different states and at least 2 different Canadian provinces.
Yeah, we are grateful for the tough job of the Clark County coroner trying to identify all of these victims. They really are making quick work of it, but it's hard work. Here's who we know has lost their life. Charleston Hartfield was an off-duty Metro officer. Sonny Melton, who sheltered his wife from bullets and lost his life. Lisa Romero, Jennifer Irvine, Susan Smith, Sandy Casey, Rachel Parker, Jessica Klimchuk, Jordan McClune, and Angie Gomez.
Also killed were Denise Bertitis, Jack Beaton, Bailey Schweitzer, Jenny Parks, Hannah Ehlers, Nasa Tonks, who's a local resident, Carrie Barnett, Doreen Anderson, Christopher Roybal, and Victor Link as well. Hard to see those names. It's a difficult day for so many of us. And, you know, as we're learning, so many victims were not from Las Vegas, but from across the country. And Justin Bruce joining us now on set right now is an example of how so many people are connected to this. You have family in central Pennsylvania.
Yeah, just heard from my brother yesterday that one of his coworkers, he works in an office of about 40 people, was here in Las Vegas with his wife, was involved in the shootings, and they were unsure of how that person was doing. Unfortunately, overnight have received word that that person has passed away. So not my place to name names or give any specific information. I'm sure next of kin is being notified. But as Dana astutely mentioned, I mean, that 59 number could certainly go up when you have more than 500 people injured. Many of those have got to be critical given the nature of the situation. That is something I fear that we're going to hear more of over the next couple of days.
Well, and we got that 59 number from the sheriff's office late yesterday evening. The friend of your brother passed away at about 2 o'clock this morning.
Right.
So that number might change.
Yeah, then I believe that it will. But I mean, you know, here we are, a town of 2 million people. We're talking about a small town in Pennsylvania of less than 20,000 people, and you never know how things are going to be connected. So sad news, and probably more of that type of news to come, I fear, in the next few days.
I think so too. Give our best to your brother and his colleagues.
Will do.
Let's get over to Dana right now. And Dana, you have more of these victims and some of their personal stories.
Yeah, we want to see the pictures. We want to hear about these people. Obviously, when you look at a list, it just feels wrong. So let's go over some of the people that we lost and their lovely faces. Angela Gomez graduated from Riverside Polytechnical High School in 2015. Then there's Jordan McIldoon from Canada, and actually there he is. He would have turned 24 this week. Jenny Parks was a kindergarten teacher and a mother of 2 from California. Parks was at the festival with her husband Bobby, who was also shot. At last check, he was still in the hospital. So some sad news there. Obviously, so many people were in groups and in twos, and unfortunately, even the one we learned of yesterday, a husband who, you know, jumped in front of his wife, he was shot and then he died. The wife lived. So we're hearing a lot of stories like that. So many stories of heroism as well. It's so sad.
Oh,
Heartbreaking.
Dana. Yeah, and when you hear that mother had 2 young children.
Kindergarten teacher, too.
Right.
Yeah, and all those kids, you know, you think about that, all those kids need to go back and their teacher's gone. You know, we know people have their own children, but sometimes they're teachers and they have a whole classroom of people that expect to see them back.
That's
right.
That's
a good point, Dana. That's a good point.
It will affect all of those kids. And speaking of schools and the effect on schools, this morning I was able to confirm that 3 people from the Faith Lutheran High School family were shot. 2 of them female high school seniors. Now they're both expected to survive.
Yeah, they're in stable. That's
in stable
the best
condition,
news considering. Yeah.
And also a Faith Lutheran alumnus. And so that whole school family is being rocked. One of my girlfriend's daughters goes to school there, and she said it's just suddenly hit so close to home that one of my daughters you know, schoolmates has been, well, 2 of her daughter's schoolmates have been injured. So we extend our condolences to them as well. We're glad they're going to be okay, but we know they have a lot of healing to do.
Okay, right now at this hour, let's check in with Marissa Kinniston. She is live there outside Mandalay Bay for us this morning. Hello, Marissa.
Good morning, Todd. Yeah, we are on Las Vegas Boulevard, and of course I'm able to stand here this morning because the roads are still blocked off. Justin Bruce was talking about it earlier, and you can see the barriers behind me where the strip is closed, at least the portion right in front of Mandalay Bay. But Mandalay Bay is open to guests. That, of course, happened yesterday. Security was lifted, and guests were able to return to their rooms, all except that 32nd floor. So even though the streets are closed here on the strip, the hotel and casino is open this morning. I've been keeping my eye on social media. We're seeing reports that it's very quiet inside. Some people on Twitter saying practically nobody on the casino floor, gambling, tension and sadness just there. Of course, Mandalay Bay right across the street from those festival grounds. And those festival grounds are still a crime scene. Police, of course, weeding through all the evidence, a lot of personal items left there on the festival grounds as people just tried to rush to safety yesterday. So, of course, police say they will release all those items once they are done scanning through the scene. Guys.
Marissa, thank you. We were talking about this morning, and right now there's so many families out there who are hurting. They're in agony. They have these questions, and they're fearing the worst, but hoping for the best. They still have not been reunited with their loved ones who were at the concert, and they're hoping there's some explanation. They lost their cell phone. Perhaps they're among the injured in a hospital somewhere, but they're waiting to get that news.
Right. Parker Collins is live at the Family Assistance Center. Parker, good morning to you.
Good morning, Beth. It's impossible, difficult. I don't even want to imagine what it would be like to go this long and still not have answers about your loved ones. That's why this space, it can be so difficult, because you could get good news, but you could also get bad news. And so people just don't know what to expect when they show up here. This is the lot across from Circus Circus. And we spoke with a mother, in fact, who was brave enough to go on camera, who had that strength, telling us her son, 29-year-old Army vet Christopher Roybal, was shot in the chest and he died. She was talking about her struggle with this, saying, you know, throughout the day as the victims' names were coming out, as more and more information was finally getting out to the public, she just had this sinking feeling. She just knew something wasn't right, and she got that news here on the strip that he passed away. He survived fighting for us overseas, but it was at a country music festival here in Las Vegas that he passed away. And I have to say, toward the end of the interview, though, she had some positive things to say, and that completely shocked me.
The center is the most amazing people. There are the most amazing people in there, ever. They were so helpful and so comforting and so giving us whatever they thought we might need or want, and even if we didn't want or need it.
And I think that's something we wanted to focus on in our newsroom, people helping other people, Las Vegans really showing their hearts. And I know for me that's so inspirational. And one other thing I'll point out, we have confirmed that the local PBS is kind of changing their programming aimed at kids, aiming at really addressing some of these tough conversations I know a lot of parents are going to start having with their kids, talking about this incident. Back to you.
Parker, I don't know if you can hear me, but we're noticing it's empty behind you, and my sources are telling me that that's because those family members, they have been given hotel rooms for the night, and so they're trying to get a little bit of rest, and they'll be back when the sun comes up this morning.
Beth, that could be true. I will say it is empty right now, and like I said, I can't imagine putting myself in their shoes. Maybe they want to rest, maybe they don't know, have all the answers yet. Maybe they're also scared about getting some of those answers. So again, it is empty now. We just don't know what to expect as the day unfolds.
Yeah, thank you so much, Parker. I know that the PIO does plan to be down at Parker's location this morning at about 8 a.m. to address the victims' family members. And so they'll be having a private meeting at 8 to tell those family members what they know. Then they'll be talking to the media closer to 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And so, you know, we we need to give those family members space as well. But I did want to explain, because you saw no one behind Parker. It's because they've all gone to get some rest tonight, which they desperately need. And to be honest with you, my prayer for those people is that they'll be able to sleep, because we've all been there grieving the loss of someone we love. You lay in bed and you're hurting and you can't escape it. And so I hope they are sleeping right now. They've got a tough day to wake up to.
And there is some hope. I mean, let's just sort of pray, and you got to believe that somewhere among this group of 527 people injured, you think about that number, and you think about some of them may not have identification on them. They may not have their cell phones on them. So it is still certainly possible and hopefully likely that some of these families will get the best possible news, which is that their loved one is alive and maybe they're not facing any serious injuries. That is some of the news that's still possible, that we're still going to hold out hope for them and their families today.
Well, if you're like me, you've been just wanting any information you can get on this shooter guy, just to try to make sense of it, which is silly. There's no making sense of madness. But we do know that he had a home up in Reno as well. And so this is a picture of his house up in Reno. I think the thing that Todd pointed out, now I'm just seeing the Reno house for the first time this morning, and it's in a Del Webb community. These are always upscale, nice subdivisions. And I think the thing Todd pointed out yesterday was that we would expect to see, I don't know, garbage, chaos, something to
that would
indicate
indicate
mental illness.
This guy's head is not on straight. I mean, look at that home. It's well manicured. This is the home in Reno again. We don't know exactly what they found inside that home. We do know that they did go to his other home in Mesquite. There is that home right there. You could see the garage door has been damaged. That's where officers went through yesterday. But other than that, it's a perfectly normal home, well manicured. They did find several weapons there inside that home. I think if the number corrects, if I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong in the booth, but I think they found 19 guns inside his home there in Mesquite. But from the outside, looks like a normal everyday home on a cul-de-sac in Mesquite.
Those images coming to us from Chopper 13 Fast and First, getting out to Mesquite, getting images of that home. And part of the reason the garage door was blown out like that is because there were hours where we thought, well, this guy is such an evil madman. Did he bomb it? You know, did he
there was a concern
booby
of a
trap
possible
his
booby
house?
trap,
And you know, that didn't turn out to be the case. The house in Reno was quiet as well. But we do know that police took some things out of that Reno home. This morning, we'll be hearing from the sheriff or the undersheriff, and hopefully they'll be able to, you know, shed a little bit of light on what they found up in that Reno house. But again, the investigation widespread. It's not just the grounds, the festival grounds, and Mandalay Bay. It's also his homes and whatever else they can find.
All right, we want to get back right now to the family. Right now, there are some numbers out there available for people to call, and again, this is for people who may be outside the area. We should know that this first number, if you're looking for missing or injured people, has changed from the number that we were broadcasting yesterday. The new number is 1-800-536-9488. Again, 1-800-536-9488. Remember, yesterday's number was, I think, 1-866. And that went down, so they had to get a new number. It's important that we mention that. Also, again, the FBI, they really do want to hear from anyone who was down there at the concert, in and around that area, even on that end of the strip, before, during, or even after the shooting. They wanted all the photos, all the video that they could get to try and glean whatever information they can. Even if you think it's a mundane picture, go ahead and send it. Let the investigators sort of sift through it and figure out what, if anything, they could learn from it. That number 2 is on your screen, 1-800-255-5324.
Cannot get over the outpouring of community support. So down at that family reunification center where Parker is, they're turning people away with their supplies. People have brought so much food and drinks and blankets and whatever that they're telling people we can't take anymore. Same story with blood.
Yeah, we saw those lines yesterday, and boy, oh boy, did that lift your spirits and your heart when you saw that. You saw strangers. We saw people, postal workers from Florida who were in town, who just knew about it. They got in line. They waited for 3 hours and then some. And then this morning, Yasmin Hassan, you're back right now at the United Blood Services Center there on Charleston, and it was great to see what you're seeing out there right now.
It's amazing to see what kind of reach that this has already had. Actually, I just spoke to somebody who flew in from California just to come out here and volunteer. He doesn't know anyone affected, but just saw what's happening and wanted to come out here. So he hopped on a plane to get out here. It's actually Paul right there, and he's helping set up. The Red Cross has a mobile unit out here right now, and you can see a lot of volunteers are coming and they're setting up. This mobile unit's going to be open at 6 a.m., but the doors open for volunteers for donations. That's opening at 9 for United Blood Services. And if you can't come down to this location, we're at Charleston and Rainbow. There are 2 other locations. There's one out in Henderson, Green Valley area, and there's another one up in the northwest part of the valley, and we'll put all that on our website, ktnv.com. But I do just want to show you some of the donations that are left over. They did save a lot of them. They're in like a trailer over on that side of the parking lot, if you can see, and that's what all the volunteers are doing right now. They're coming out here, they're setting things up. Paul, tell us a little bit about why you felt the need to come out here, even though you're not part of, not a Las Vegas local, but you still wanted to come out here.
Well, ever since I heard about it in the morning, been looking at the news articles, all the posts, and like I saw everyone come together. And since I know my blood type, I could at least come out and help out, and I just booked the next flight out.
How long are you staying? What are you hoping to help? How are you hoping to help out while you're here?
Just help out as much as I can, at least donate some blood, and if it takes more time, then I'm just going to push my flight back.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I have been talking to some of the other volunteers with Red Cross. If you are looking to bring something down here, if you can't donate, or if you want to bring something, they're asking for hot coffee, hot breakfast, things like that for other people who are waiting in line.
Yeah, Yasmin, thank you. That is such a great story. I think we need to hear those stories this morning. This guy coming in from California, just catching a flight and saying, you know what, I'm going to go there and I'm going to wait online. It's going to take however long it takes. If I miss my flight, so be it.
Well,
I want to help out.
I'm so glad Yasmin said if you're looking for a place to take, you know, some donuts or coffee, head down to UBS. I appreciate her saying that because so many people, they want to help in some small way.
Yeah. One of the things that's so interesting about our modern times is Facebook and the sort of safety check-in feature. We saw that again utilized Sunday night and Monday morning. And Dana, I know you have more on that.
Yeah, it's interesting, guys. I've never had to check in. I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of things that we've been covering through the years on Facebook. When there's tragedy, I see people maybe that I'll know when there was the tragedy in London or whatever, check in and say that they're safe. I've never had to do it, but I did it yesterday, and so many people in the community are doing that as well. And in fact, you can actually go to the page. There's a community help page. Wanted to scroll through, and I just want to point out how many posts that I have been reading with folks saying they want to offer financial help. They want to offer, hey, I have a van that fits 6 people. Who needs a ride to the hospital or back to their hotel? I have actually seen people open up their homes saying, I've got room in my house. Does somebody need a place to stay? So this is an interesting place to go, and kind of just, even if you just want to look and see how many people are reaching out to one another. But if you do need help, this is a place to go as well. So it's where you would check in. There's a community help page, and people are posting all that information. And so we love to see, they're even putting where they live and the cross streets, you know, and they're saying they'll pick people up as well. So that is really nice. Something I have also seen, guys, is there is a lot of posts where people are looking for their loved ones, and they're posting pictures. I can't find my friend or my coworker or some even my daughter, and I see people posting lists from the hospital. It's heartbreaking. Some people saying, I see this person on the list. Obviously nothing that we can report, but gosh, to even scroll through there and see if you recognize any of those faces or if you have any information can be of support to some of these people. It is really heartbreaking. But you are right, Todd. In modern times, this is where we go, Facebook, to have a conversation and feel like we have a friend and support to try and get some more information.
Yeah, I was seeing friends here in Las Vegas utilize this, and I just thought it's so surreal to see this sort of happening. And to that point, Dana, that you were mentioning people posting pictures saying of the missing right now and the unaccounted for, it's reminiscent of what we saw in the days after 9/11.
Right.
Although back then we didn't have Facebook, so you saw flyers flyers being, posted everywhere,
Right.
and these are our modern day flyers.
Dana, can I just say, so these lists that are coming from the hospitals, are they from official hospital sources?
No.
See, I think we need to warn people about that because I
Yes.
know Clark County fire officials were telling me one of their huge concerns is wrong names getting out, wrong information getting out, causing grief where they didn't need to, or giving people reason to celebrate when they shouldn't have. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. And some people are posting and they're saying, well, I don't know, but this is it's if someone was volunteering at the hospital or they were there for their friend, and there was a list on the wall, and there's actually handwritten lists that are posted on here going, well, these are the names that I took that they were admitted, and some of them, aren't people that died, but people that were admitted and getting help. Do you recognize any of these? Does this help you out anymore? And they're kind of sharing those notes. But everyone is kind of saying after they write it, it's nothing official, but this is what I took down. I don't know if it helps lead you to the right hospital or to the right place, or there's a phone number maybe you could call and check in with them. So, but it's tough. It's the sharing of information, but you do have to be careful on places like Facebook. Doesn't mean that anything is official, but sometimes if it can guide you in the right direction at least.
Right. I just want to thank you, Dana. Want to urge anyone who is searching those lists for a loved one's name, go down to that Family and Friends Reunification Center instead.
That's the correct source, right? Absolutely.
And it's also important to note they also have grief counselors down there. So if you're going to get bad news, you need the support of people who can just wrap their arms around you. So I just hate to see someone coming across a name and it being inaccurate. And I know Dana shares that as well. So.
Okay, well, this morning we got reporters all over the place, including Jennifer Kastner, who's from our affiliate in San Diego. Jennifer, you're at the UMC this morning.
Yeah, and as we know, many of the victims were taken here to UMC, Las Vegas's largest hospital, also the only level 1 trauma center in the area. The doctors, the nurses, the various EMS personnel, they routinely train for possible mass casualty situations like this, whether it's shootings, floods, fires, earthquakes, whatever. They do these drills every few months to prepare. They are very much on top of this. We've spoken with Danita Cohen over the course of this. She is the media relations specialist for UMC, and she said all the doctors, nurses, and so on, they were well prepared for this, although very much shocked by the events because no one can know that this is really going to happen. And also, we've been out here all morning. We've been waiting to see if any friends, family members are going to show up. But again, it is very early at this hour. Chances are a lot of these people are in their hotel rooms or in their homes just getting a little bit of rest. In the next couple of hours, they're going to wake up and come down here. We may see some of them. They may choose to talk to us. About 500 people injured in this shooting, as we've been reporting, and about 100 of them at UMC at this time. Let's go back to you.
Jennifer, thank you. And please thank your photographer for us as well. Jennifer and her photog raced into Las Vegas from one of our Scripps affiliates to help us out so that some of our team could get rest. We do appreciate your reporting.
All right, let's check back in right now with Dana. You have some more breaking news here.
Yeah, that the GoFundMe page that we started talking about right at 4 a.m. and yesterday, but at 4 a.m. we were at 2.9. Now we're past $3 million in the GoFundMe page that was started by County Commissioner Steve Sisolak and the sheriff. The goal is $3.5 million. They keep upping that, but yeah, it crossed the line here. $3,011,000, so pretty incredible. Raised by 43,534 people in 24 hours. I still have to share some of these donations because I love that there are $100 donations, $250, and then you can even see Will here donated $5. Any little bit of money makes a difference, and boy, even just these donations this morning, we have surpassed $3 million, and this is a Las Vegas Victims Fund, so keep that in mind. The money's going to go toward the victims. Maybe they need accommodations, transportation, medical help. There are so many people in the hospital right now that are going to need that aid. Some people may have been out here alone, maybe just with one friend, and need the support of their family to come into town, and so all that will help with the cost for that. So it's great to see $3 million.
Yeah, and Dana, we were saying yesterday, a lot of people can't give blood. Maybe recently they had a tattoo or they have some medical issues, but that's a way that they could do it, right? And we're seeing $10, $20, whatever it is, whatever people can afford, that they're giving.
Yeah, and it adds up, let me tell you. And like we said, it was 43,534 people in 24 hours. Wow. And you add all that up, and boy, we've crossed $3 million. That is a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of people who want to help. Thank you, Dana. One of those people who wants to help is hometown late-night host Jimmy Kimmel. He decried the mass shooting last night on his show.
Well, hello, everyone. Here we are again in the aftermath of another terrible, inexplicable, shocking and painful tragedy, this time in Las Vegas, which happens to be my hometown and Cleto's hometown, Cleto Sr.'s hometown. And as you know, at least 59 people are dead. Hundreds of people were wounded in what they say was the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history, coming about a year and a half after the previous deadliest mass shooting in modern American history in Orlando, where 49 people lost their lives. And of course, we pray for the victims and for their families and friends, and we wonder why, even though there's probably no way to ever know why a human being would do something like this to other human beings who are at a concert, having fun and listening to music. Jason Aldean was on stage.
I appreciate his heart. Yeah. I appreciate his heart, and I think that America listens to him. We're so used to him making us laugh, and so when we see him get choked up, we all go, whoa, and pay attention.
We've seen sort of the role of sort of the late night comedians or hosts sort of shift here recently, and Jimmy is one of those guys who's, you know, when he has something to say, you know, he says it, and he speaks from the heart, and you could hear last night during that monologue that was all heart, and you know, the fact that he has direct ties here to Las Vegas, I think, you know, he's sort of shouting out for the rest of us.
Well, the emotions continued as he touched on the shooter and how he carried out the gruesome attack.
A very sick person smuggled 17 guns into his hotel room and smashed out the windows, started firing indiscriminately from the 32nd floor into a crowd of 22,000 people across the street. And as a result of that, this morning, we have children without parents and fathers without sons, mothers without daughters. We lost 2 police officers. We lost a nurse from Tennessee, a special ed teacher from a local school here in Manhattan Beach. And it's a kind of thing that it makes you want to throw up or give up. It's too much to even process. All these devastated families who now have to live with this pain forever because one person with a violent and insane voice in his head managed to stockpile a collection of high-powered rifles and use them to shoot people.
He went for a while, didn't he? He is really...
boy, it's just, you know, you think about, you know, we talked about it, you know, I went home yesterday, it was just like, you just grab your kid, you know?
Yeah, grab your kid. I went to pick my kids up from school yesterday, and they said, oh, Mom, did you have to, because they knew I'd had a long night, they said, did you have to wake up? I said, oh, guys, it's the best part of my day. I was so happy to see them. All right, Las Vegas, it's our privilege to be your news source this morning. Good morning. It is 6 a.m.
I just got shot, I can't run. So I dove under this bar to get cover. This guy helped me wrap my foot because it was just gushing out blood everywhere.
I was down on the ground for about 30 seconds and the shots, I can't even tell, the shots were so loud and it felt like they were right over me and they wouldn't stop. I can't believe one life was lost, let alone 59 lives.
It's really hard. Because there's people that aren't coming back, but it's really nice to see people come together.
He went out protecting Heather. That shows his true self. In his last moments of life, he was protecting other people like he would do every day.
I tried to calm them down. I didn't want them to get killed.
Well, hello everyone again. Last night we saw the face of love, as we heard people say. Sunday night we saw the face of evil, and but now we're seeing these stories of heroism and the love and the outpouring of support in our community.
We are. If you're just joining us this morning, we know a lot of you needed to take a mental break from the news, but this morning you're turning on your television, you're wanting to know what's happened. So Dana, can you bring everybody up to date with the very latest information?
Yeah, the numbers keep changing and the information keeps changing, obviously, as we find out more. So we did want to give you the latest, and we have learned that 59 lives have been lost with another 527 people injured. It's a incredible number. The shooter has been identified as 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. Now, we did learn that he lived in Mesquite. We had crews out there yesterday talking with police as they served a warrant to get inside his home and see what they could find and investigate. Metro says now he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound as they broke into his Mandalay Bay hotel room yesterday when they did catch up with him. And inside that hotel room, they found 23 weapons. At his home in Mesquite, after going inside that house, they found 19 firearms. Now, we've also learned that he has a home in Reno and obviously northern Nevada, so they're going through that house as well. So there's still a lot to be discovered there, but we do know that 59 people have died and 527 people hurt after the tragedy, and those are the latest numbers. We'll probably get an update today, a little bit later on, from police.
Yeah, and sadly, we fear those numbers could go up, the number who've lost their lives. Dana, thank you. As overnight, our own Justin Bruce shared with us that an acquaintance of his family died at 2 a.m. So we'll hear from Justin on that in a few minutes, but we're wondering if that number could be changing.
All right, as things stand right now, 20 of the 59 victims have been identified, and as you could imagine, they're from all across the place, at least 7 different states and 2 different Canadian provinces. Here are some of the names that we know as of 6 o'clock this morning.
Charleston, let me start with Denise, since that's what you have up. Denise Bertitis, Jack Beaton, Bailey Schweitzer, Jenny Parks, Hannah Ehlers. Nisa Tonks is from Las Vegas. Carrie Barnett, Doreen Anderson, Christopher Roybal, who was celebrating his birthday here, his 29th birthday. Victor Link.
We also have another graphic here of some of the names that we know at this hour. Right there you see Charleston Hartfield. Now he is the off-duty Metro officer who was there attending the concert. He was killed. Sonny Melton, the husband from Tennessee who shielded his wife, he too was killed, as was Lisa Romero, Jennifer Irvine, Susan Smith, Sandy Casey, Rachel Parker, Jessica Klumchuk, Jordan McDoon, as well as Angie Gomez.
And so these are not just names and numbers to all of us here at Action News. They're human beings with stories. And Dana, I've so appreciated you bringing us the stories that you're finding online. It just helps paint a picture for all of us of the victims we're grieving.
Yeah, it sure does. And to see their picture and hear what they're doing. This is Nisa Tonks here, a Las Vegas local who worked for an IT company called Technologent. And there she is. You had mentioned that she's from here as well. And gosh, what a beautiful girl. So sad that she died after this shooting here just 24 hours or so ago. Now, Angela Gomez, she graduated from Riverside Polytechnical School, and that was in 2015. Also, Jordan McIldoon from Canada. He would have turned 24 this week. Unbelievable. People so young. We're seeing 20-year-olds. Jenny Parks was a kindergarten teacher and a mother of 2 from California. Parks was at the festival with her husband, Bobby, who was also shot, and at last check was still in the hospital as well. Guess maybe we don't have some of those pictures, but we'll of course continue to bring you some of those as we get through the newscast here, because we want to learn a little bit about these people. We don't want to just put up a list, but trying to get as much information out as we can.
Yeah, thank you, Dana. You hear the names and you think about what they did: kindergarten teacher, nurses, police officers, some of the best people that are out there, veterans. It's hard to hear. All right, Dana, thank you.
We're going to go to Marissa Keniston. We have a team of reporters all over for you this morning, but Marissa is live near Las Vegas Boulevard in Russell, where, boy, all of this changed.
Yeah, Beth, just everything changed. I'm actually on Las Vegas Boulevard right now. You can see the barriers behind me where the strip is still closed. Police are there with their lights on, and you can see those road closure signs right there. So at least the part of the strip right in front of Mandalay Bay is closed, and of course right in front of the festival grounds. That's because those festival grounds are still a crime scene, and that means they're still filled with people's personal items, stuff they may have left behind in that rush to get to safety. Now, Metro sent out a tweet saying, "We will make arrangements after the scene is processed for people to retrieve their items." Now, I've been looking through the comments. One person said, "A phone is a phone. I don't even want it back." Several people commented that they live out of state and they're already home. This just goes to show you the gravity of the situation here and what's really important. I think that's kind of been a theme that we've been bringing throughout our newscast, is what's really important here are these people's lives. And but if you are looking for some of those personal items, do know that police are still processing the scene. Once they are done with that, they will be able to reunite anybody who may have left those items at the festival grounds. Guys.
All right, Marissa, thank you. And we know at this hour there are still so many loved ones out there. They are hoping for the best, and they are facing the very real possibility of the worst news of their lives.
Yeah, I don't think all of our viewers maybe understand this is going to take days, and there are people who don't know if their loved one is alive or dead, and those people are being asked to go to the Family Assistance Center. Now, many of them have gone home to rest for the night, but in the next couple of hours, they'll be heading back down to where Parker Collins is standing by live. Parker, that's where they're going to get the news. Oh, it looks like Parker's picture was frozen there. Okay. We'll work to get him and his audio working again for you, so just hang tight, because Parker has a really powerful story of some of those folks.
Yeah, you know, and you think about the agony, you think about those family members right now, and there is hope, you know, because most people don't maybe not think about it, but there's 527 people. Look at that number there on the bottom of our screen. 527 people who are injured. They are scattered throughout the different hospitals right now. Some of them may not have identification on them, so maybe they possibly weren't identified yet. So there is still hope, and we could sort of think about and hope about those families being reunited, that those stories are still possible, that they are not going to get the worst news.
And hope in the human spirit. Yasmin Hassan has had the privilege of meeting some of the finest Las Vegans, and actually people from all over the country, Yasmin, at United Blood Services on Charleston.
Beth, it has been a privilege. I don't even know how to describe what's been happening out here. Take a look, the line is even growing. I mean, minute by minute, more and more people are showing up. And all of these people have been taking care of each other. They've all been asking, do you need anything? Do you want some water? Can I help you? So they've been out here for a couple of hours. It's pretty cold out here, honestly, and they've just been trying to take care of each other. And you can see Salvation Army volunteers are all here setting up as well. I did want to quickly mention, though, we've been showing you those pictures and those images from Chopper 13 of the huge lines that were out here yesterday. Please don't think that that means they have enough donations. They desperately need blood. Blood also does have a shelf life, so it doesn't last forever. So please, please, more donations are still needed, and the doors are opening here at 9 a.m. But I do want to talk to some of the volunteers who came out here hours before the doors are opening. Tell me why you felt the need to come out here and be a part of this today.
So I felt that I just needed to come out and help the community and just be a part of what's going on, and it's amazing.
Talk to me about what you've seen from the community coming out here yesterday, today. I mean, reaching out to people, messaging, making phone calls.
So we've already seen a huge response from the community, bringing supplies that we need, like coffee and water and hot food for the people waiting in line, waiting to donate, which is awesome. So,
thank you so much. Thank you. And if you are looking to make donations, I know some locations have been overwhelmed with the amount of locations or donations being made, rather. So if you'd like to make a donation, you can bring it by the Salvation Army, the main location. It's downtown right near Owens in Maine. And then the Salvation Army will then distribute it to any location that needs anything. But if you are coming down here to United Blood Services, they're asking for hot coffee, hot breakfast, but otherwise they have all the snacks covered.
All right, Yasmin, thank you. You know, I love the story that, Yasmin, you were talking about, the guy who flew in from California, you know, has no real connection, just said, I'm going to go there, and whatever they need to volunteer, give blood, I'm going to do it.
Well, people want to help.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, helping means I have $5. Could that help? And it is adding up, Dana.
We have collected as a community, and really people donating from all over the world at this GoFundMe page is over $3 million. But you know what, you guys, real quick, we were doing the names of the victims, and sometimes in trying to organize it all, I just wanted to point out that this is Nasa Tonks, the local Las Vegan. I had the wrong picture up behind me earlier, and just wanted to point out, because I know we have a lot of viewers that might know her and care about her, and we just want to make sure that we get that correct. And so that, unfortunately, is Nasa, who we lost during the tragedy on Sunday night. This GoFundMe account is going to help people that love her and many of the other victims. It is a Las Vegas Victims Fund set up by Steve Sisolak, our county commissioner, and the sheriff, and it has passed $3 million just this morning. The goal at 3.5, but you know, it was 2.5 and 2. They keep upping it because so many people want to donate. 43,793 people have donated in just one day, and people are making small donations, $10, $5, $50, but it all adds up. Look at this, 15, 30, 25, 50. It's amazing how much it adds up. They have collected more than $3 million, and this is going to go to help the families. Of course, there's people that are going to need money for medical expenses. They're going to need to fly their family in here. Also want to point out that some of our local businesses, Station Casinos, offered free hotel rooms. You can go to their Twitter page for more information for people that might need a place to stay. Also, the South Point Hotel, I've noticed that they have done it too. Yesterday we talked with the Legion Air. They're offering free flights for people that might want their family members to fly in and visit them in the hospital, or need to get here, or maybe get home. So there are a lot of resources and a lot of people doing good here, Beth and Todd, and a lot of people giving to this GoFundMe account as well.
And Dana, I have to say, I have a good buddy of mine. He was an Army surgeon, served in Iraq, and he was sort of sharing the story about some of the injuries he experienced and dealt with the type of weapons that were used. Sure. And we don't need to get into details here, but a lot of these people who are injured, they're going to need a lot of medical care for a long time.
They sure are. I mean, we talked with Anthony yesterday, who was shot in the leg, remember, and he was in the hospital, and he said, you know, they're going to get the bullet out eventually, but all these people are worse off than me, and they need attention first. And so you think about all the medical expenses that are going to go along with that. And so real life stories, and it's 527 people hurt.
Dana, thank you. Well, that GoFundMe account was set up by Clark County Commissioner Steve Sisolak. He talked about the GoFundMe with the Sheriff's Office. Again, you just heard how much money was raised, and some of that, a large chunk of it, did come from an anonymous donor, and this is how Commissioner Sisolak showed his gratitude.
When we started it, we set the goal at $500,000. We got to $100,000, and one individual called and said, I will get you to your goal. And he donated $400,000. That individual was anonymous until now. He has said that we could release his name. It was Stephen Klubeck, donated $400,000 to support this community.
You can just see the emotion there on County Commissioner Steve Sisolak's face, and a little bit of a sort of a story behind the story there, and why this is so significant. And I think people here in our community kind of need to hear the story that Stephen Klubeck, for those of you who don't know, is the CEO of a Diamond Resorts, but also rumored to be a potential rival for the governor of Nevada, which we know County Commissioner Steve Sisolak is running for governor. So here you have in the sort of the political world, two guys that might be going, toe to toe, deciding, you know what, it's not about politics right now.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the emotion, and I think a lot of the emotion, Steve Sisolak, I mean, I've covered him for years. He is stoic, and I think a lot of the emotion too is just that it's taking a toll on all of our community leaders and first responders and all of the trauma doctors and nurses at Sunrise and at UMC who have been working around the clock. Jennifer Kastner from one of our Scripps affiliates is down at UMC. Jennifer, boy, that building's full of heroes who are running on empty too.
So many heroes, but what they need right now, and we've been reporting on this, you know this, they need blood donations. You've probably seen some of the signs, if you've been driving around the city, if you've been on the 15, the billboards that change and they say give blood. So blood donations are in high demand right now, and there's various locations where you can do this throughout the city. If you're going to donate to UMC, they have a location, the Delta Point location on Rancho. As we've been reporting, the United Blood Services locations throughout the city, the Labor, Health, and Welfare. What they need the most is the O negative and the O positive, but they will take any and all donations at this time. You also know more than 500 people injured in this shooting, and about 100 of them in the hospital just behind us. It's still pretty early in the morning. The sun is starting to come up. We're seeing a little bit more street traffic out here, people going to work. It's still kind of quiet though at this time. We've been monitoring the front entrance to UMC, to the emergency room. Not a lot of traffic in and out right now, but as those friends, those family members start to wake up and come out here, we will likely get a chance to speak with them. Let's go back to you.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. Most of the victims were taken to Sunrise Hospital.
Yes.
They have a level 2 trauma center there, and it's closer to where most of the victims were. Our level 1 trauma center is there at UMC, where Jennifer was, and where so many people have been working to save lives.
Yeah, and I was sharing the story. I think it was David Schumann, who I saw on Twitter last night. I was talking to someone who works there at UMC, I believe. That's the hospital that he was at, who was saying that they were just recently visited by surgeons from the Orlando area, who of course dealt with the trauma there after the Pulse nightclub shooting. And this person that he talked to said, you know, we attribute that visit to why we were somewhat so prepared and why we were able to save so many lives yesterday.
Well, those hospitals here in our valley really did do a remarkable job, and GMA's Lindsay Davis has more.
This morning, a look inside the race to treat the injured. Las Vegas area hospitals working around the clock to help the hundreds of wounded.
Desert Springs has no available beds right now.
Medical personnel saying it's like nothing they've ever seen before.
We've actually had a number of mass casualty incidents come through this trauma center, but nothing of this magnitude.
At Sunrise Medical Center, they admitted 180 patients.
It was nonstop. It was an impressive evening.
Some, like 18-year-old Addison Short, awaiting surgery. Her lower leg fractured, a bullet still inside.
I tried to get up and my foot literally just felt like it was disconnected, like I just couldn't run.
The college freshman says she's grateful for the stranger who helped pull her to safety.
I really wish I knew who he was so I could thank him.
Hospitals, including the ones here in Las Vegas, regularly train for mass casualty events.
But does this compare with any kind of training?
You know, our latest training, ironically, was with an ER physician who was on duty at Orlando Regional Hospital the night of the Pulse nightclub attack. He was here just a couple of months ago.
And that was likely critical because the physician who was on duty in Orlando treating the victims from the Pulse nightclub shooting was able to talk to this medical staff about what worked and what they could have done better. And the Pulse nightclub shooting was the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history until now. Lindsay Davis, ABC News, Las Vegas.
Hard to hear that we are the home of the deadliest shooting in our country's history. It's still hard to understand.
Well, people all over the world are lending their support, a lot of support from the country music capital of the world. Last night, several artists came together to pay homage to the victims.
Go rest high on that mountain, son, your work on earth is done.
Well, that, of course, that right there is country star Vince Gill. Now, he was joined by several other artists, including Alison Krauss, who sang a moving rendition of Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
As well as Australian country music star Keith Urban also performed at that vigil. He covered Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water.
As you know, the victims were attending a country music festival, and the country music family is very tight-knit. It was just a moving tribute to everyone affected. The ceremony ended with the vigil to raise awareness for the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee's fund, where 100% of the donations will go toward the victims of the mass shooting. So the Nashville community really coming out to show a huge lot of support to the victims.
And it matters. I mean, it matters to me just looking through Facebook and social media and to see these sort of that outpouring of support from places across the country and across the world.
Right.
It matters. It kind of helps says, okay, it's good to hear that so many people care about what we are going through.
It did. It rocked the country music world for sure. I mean, you know, Jason Aldean was on stage and he sent out a message about how frightening it was for him and devastating it was for him. There were a lot of other country music stars there as well who had been performing in that 3-day festival who had stayed to enjoy Aldean's performance. So they were all caught up in it too, and just so senseless for all those country music fans. As we learned yesterday, victims of the shooting were from all over the United States, but so were some of the hidden heroes who stepped in to help others around them. As travelers returned to their home states, they reflected on the many ways they escaped.
I just dove on top of like 14 people, pulled a chair over them or a table, said, I'm a lot older than you guys. There was bullets flying all over. I'm 53, they're in their 20s. So, you know, I lived a decent life so far. I'd rather them live longer than me.
The whole plane ride home, sometimes you just start crying, you know, why did this happen?
Boy, all of these folks feeling and wondering exactly what we are. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? And so as they take their stories of heroism and their stories of fear and frustration and anger back to their home states, the ripple effect all over the world really will be felt.
Yeah, you see that video there of loved ones greeting each other at, I assume to be an airport at whatever location they're going back home to. And you know, that is good to see, to know that, you know, we have to do our due diligence here and report on, obviously, the fatalities and the injured. But we certainly want to highlight that, the people who escaped, the people who survived, and then being reunited with their families, and the heroes as well, You
know, some of those heroes work down on the Strip every day, just doing their job. And the night of the shooting, some cab drivers and Lyft and Uber drivers found themselves in the middle of this devastating story unfolding. They started offering free rides to anybody, telling them, get in and I'll drive you away from the gunfire. One cab driver told us she was waiting for passengers right by Mandalay Bay, and that's when she heard the shots ring out.
I first heard a couple of pops, and I just thought it was fireworks or, you know, firecrackers coming from across the street at the venue, the Harvest Festival venue. And after a while, then you started hearing a lot more, and that's when I decided to turn my video camera on my cell phone. And then it just continued to keep going and going and going.
Yeah, we've been hearing these stories of people who were just sort of going about their lives, who got caught up in this, who just stopped, and they just stopped whatever it was they were doing, and they wanted to help. You're looking right now, this is a picture of an iPhone. This is something that a taxi driver had shared. This is one of the passengers' cell phone. It was actually hit with a bullet during this attack. The phone's owner, though, was not shot, but it gives you an indication that even people who escaped, they escaped by inches, even centimeters.
I was sharing with you that last night I was talking to the chief of the Clark County Fire Department. He shared with me that it was community ambulance that was on duty. At any of those large events, they do have paramedics there on standby in case somebody gets sick or passes out or has a heart attack. That's what they're expecting to deal with. So they had plenty of ambulances there. They had medical teams there. When the shooting happened, they were piling 4 and 5 victims in each ambulance. That's not how it is supposed to go, but they were just desperate to get them to the hospital. That meant the ambulances were racing to the hospital, and you know, in the minutes following what was supposed to be this great night of country music, it left ordinary citizens to load victims into their own cars, into their own trucks, and try to race them to hospitals as well. So you know, there was some time there before the next wave of ambulances could arrive, when it was just normal people who became extremely extraordinary people that night.
We said it before. There were no rules or procedures at that moment. The only rule really was to get as many people to help as quickly as possible. And we saw that over and over again. And we saw yesterday the video of the woman with the pickup truck who just was sort of flagged down. And she said, and someone said, we need help. We have all these people wounded. They need to get to the hospital. And she said, you know, load them up. And we've been hearing more and more of those stories.
And as we look at those images, it's important to note both the President of the United States and also the sheriff yesterday expressed in no uncertain terms, if it weren't for those first responders, police, fire, ambulance services, getting down there as quickly as they did, hundreds more would be dead. That's what they told us. Hundreds more would be dead. So we are so grateful for all of those men and women in uniform as well, and the ordinary everyday heroes. In this image, you see nobody in uniform. You see people who were at the concert helping.
And talking about people in uniform, we've heard from County Commissioner Steve Sisolak, who has been saying on numerous levels, you know, the next time you see a Metro officer, a paramedic, a firefighter, thank them. And it doesn't have to be today, it doesn't have to be tomorrow. It could be the next time you get pulled over for a speeding ticket, you know, and that Metro officer comes to your window. Make sure to thank them.
Well, last night, Nellis Air Force Base held a vigil in their chapel, and you see them holding candles there and just paying their respects. It's important to note that Nellis is another one of those agencies that sent some of their medical personnel to UMC to help. Of course, all of these military folks would be trained to handle mass casualty incidents on the battlefield, but that night the battlefield became UMC as all of those people were brought in. So thank you to Nellis and all of the other agencies, Henderson PD, North Las Vegas. Really, it was a collective effort. Really remarkable community response from many agencies, not just Metro.
And you think about it, as the sun now is up this morning at 6:30, as we approach 6:30 hour. We take a look behind us here. The scene here that was over our shoulder. It's just it's such a somber morning for so many of us here right now, and we're looking right now at some of the more vigils and the supplies that people have been responding to the call for help.
Right. This is down on Fremont Street, where volunteers packed the downtown Las Vegas's Evil Pie Shop. I think that's what it's called. And people just brought, you know, deodorant, toothpaste, all that good stuff, collecting things that will go to the victims in Sunday night's massacre. General Manager Joey Diamore says he just felt it was the least he could do after working and living in Las Vegas for 16 years.
Our hearts go out to those people that, you know, that were hurt or, you know, killed, and you wonder why he did it.
The response that the forces gave was pretty fast, and it made me feel safe.
Well, that's not the manager of Evil Pie, obviously, just some folks that we talked to down there. But boy, I think they expressed it well, that we're all just wanting to do what we can to lend support.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I just kind of caught a little bit of the national television coverage last night, just to sort of get a sense of how they were viewing it. And they kept on talking about, you know, sometimes nationally people view Las Vegas as the city just to go where you're entertained. But I think what the nation is learning is that we are a community, and we are together, and we are strong, and there is a lot of love and a lot of support here.
Nobody knows that better than Dana Roselli, who's called Las Vegas home for 17, 18 years, Dana?
Yeah, actually 14, but
14.
Gosh, you're dating me, Beth.
Well, it's me, 17. I know it was about the same.
Yeah, about 14 years, but it feels like home. Gosh, I don't even remember what it's like to live in New York anymore, but I love it here. So many people love it here. And yesterday, the president gave us attention right away, making some comments about Las Vegas. He had a moment of silence with the First Lady and the Vice President yesterday as well. Today he's headed to Puerto Rico, and on Wednesday he will be here in Las Vegas. Now, before he left for Puerto Rico this morning, he made some more comments about Las Vegas.
And what happened in Las Vegas is in many ways a miracle. The police department has done such an incredible job, and we'll be talking about gun laws as time goes by. But I do have to say, how quickly the police department was able to get in was really very much of a miracle. They've done an amazing job.
Again, the president expected to be here on Wednesday. We don't have any times just yet, but keep in mind, obviously, that will affect the airport on Wednesday. As soon as we get a schedule, we will, of course, bring that to you. You are watching Good Morning Las Vegas. Thanks for joining us. We're getting ready for 6:30.
This morning, we have children without parents and fathers without sons, mothers without daughters. We lost 2 police officers. It's the kind of thing that it makes you want to throw up or give up. It's too much to even process.
It's really hard because there's people that aren't coming back.
Boy, we know so many people are hurting this morning, and hearing Jimmy Kimmel and the emotion in his voice last night during the monologue, of course, the fact that he lived here in Las Vegas has a very personal connection to our community.
Yeah, it's how all of us felt, on the verge of tears for the last 24 hours. I know everyone in our community has felt that way too. We're going to start this half hour of coverage with Dana in the Breaking News Center to bring everyone up to date.
Yeah, obviously a lot of people have been watching the news and really paying attention to what's happening here in Las Vegas because it affects all of us. But in case you missed it, we want to bring you up to date on the numbers and what we do know this morning as of this very moment. We do know 59 lives have been lost, with another 527 people injured. Now, the shooter has been identified as 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. He lived in Mesquite. Now, Metro says that he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound as they broke into his Mandalay Bay hotel room yesterday. Now, 23 weapons were found inside the room. 19 firearms were found inside the home in Mesquite. We had crews there. There were obviously investigators, police on the scene. They served a search warrant there, knocked down the garage and got into the home, and so that's what they discovered. We have also learned that he owns a home in the area of Reno in northern Nevada, so they'll be looking into that as well. So they have another busy day, of course, ahead of them, but those are the numbers, and that's what we know right now. We just wanted to get you caught up, and I know you guys have so much more on what the community's doing and more on the victims.
Yeah, and hopefully this half hour we can run Darcy's story as well, which gives us a little bit more into this guy's background. We're all wanting to understand his mindset, but we want to keep the focus on the victims. 20 of the 59 have been identified.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, they're from across the country, at least 7 different states as we know now, and 2 different Canadian provinces. Here are their names. Charleston Hartfield, he is the off-duty Metro officer who was there at the concerts. Sonny Melton, Lisa Romero, Jennifer Irvine, Susan Smith, Sandy Casey, Rachel Parker, Jessica Klumchuk, Jordan McDoon, Angie Gomez.
Denise Bertitis, Jack Beaton, Bailey Schweitzer, Jenny Parks, Hannah Allers, Nisa Tonks from Las Vegas, Carrie Barnett, Doreen Anderson, Christopher Roybal, Victor Link, and again, as I said, 2 victims from Las Vegas, Charles Hartfield, the police officer, and Nisa Tonks. And we want to show you a picture of Officer Charles Hartfield. He was an off-duty police officer, just enjoying the concert with friends and family when he became a victim.
Yeah, I believe he was 34 years old, if I remember correctly. Again, just another example of some of the people there who were in the crowd on Sunday night just having a great time.
Nisa Tonks was a Las Vegas local who worked for an IT company called Technologent, and we look forward to learning more about Nisa.
And Angela Gomez there graduated from Riverside Polytechnical High School in 2015.
Jordan McIldoon from Canada, he would have turned 24 years old this week.
And Jenny Parks, a kindergarten teacher, a mom of 2 from California. Parks was at the festival with her husband Bobby, who was also shot. And at last check, he was still in the hospital.
This morning, as our city begins the healing process, we do have a team of reporters out for you, gathering information from a variety of locations.
Yeah, I believe right now we're going to begin with Parker Collins, or Marissa Kinniston, who's at Mandalay Bay for us this morning. Go ahead, Marissa.
Yeah, Todd, we're actually right on Las Vegas Boulevard, and obviously I'm able to stand here this morning because parts of the Strip are still closed. Take a look behind me. You can see the barriers, and then, of course, those barriers right in front of Mandalay Bay there. Now, the Strip, or at least the portion right in front of Mandalay Bay, is closed, but the actual hotel and casino is open to guests. That, of course, happened yesterday. Security was lifted, and guests were able to return to their rooms, except for that 32nd floor. So even though the streets are closed here on the Strip, the hotel and casino is open. Now, I have been keeping my eye on social media. We are seeing reports that it's just very quiet inside the hotel and casino right now. Some people on Twitter saying practically nobody on the casino floor gambling, just a lot of tension and sadness inside there this morning. Of course, Mandalay Bay right across the street from those festival grounds, and those festival grounds are still a crime scene this morning. Again, that is why police do have this area blocked off and parts of the Strip still closed this morning. They are still processing that scene, going through all of the evidence this morning. A lot of personal items left over from people who were at that festival, and police say that once they are done processing the scene, they will be able to reunite people who may have left those items with, of course, what they left. Guys?
All right, Marissa, thank you. Well, as the minutes sort of turn into hours, they turn into days now. There are still a lot of people out there who haven't been reunited with their loved ones. Their loved ones were at the concert. They haven't been able to get in contact with them. They are hoping that they get the best possible news, but you can imagine the agony that so many of them are in this morning.
They're expected to hear, get an update from officials at 8 a.m. this morning at the Family Assistance Center. That's down at the Convention Center. Parker Collins is down there live. Parker, things are quiet right now. People left to get some rest, but this is where they'll be coming for answers.
Yeah, Beth, you might be able to see some of the empty chairs and tables behind me. I'm hoping some of these people are able to sleep, get a little bit of rest, a little bit of comfort. A lot of the hotels along the Strip offering those free rooms, but you have to understand the news that they could get here. It could be good, but it also could be some of the worst news of their life, and something that I don't know how you would prepare for it. And we were here and we spoke with a mother who was, like I was been saying all morning, brave enough to go on camera because, I mean, you can understand it's not easy to want to talk about this stuff, and it's hard to ask these kind of questions. I mean, nobody wants to have this conversation, but she did. She said her son, 29-year-old Army veteran Christopher Roybal, he was shot in the chest and he was killed here on the Strip. She said as the names of the victims and people that were hurt and as more information kept coming out all day, she just had this sinking feeling inside of her, and she knew something was wrong.
The center is the most amazing people. They're the most amazing people in there, ever. They were so helpful and so comforting and so giving us whatever they thought we might need or want, and even if we didn't want or need it.
That is what I could not believe, the hope and the gratefulness really in her voice toward the end of the interview. She was just so thankful for everybody who was reaching out and helping, and that is what we're really seeing here locally in Las Vegas. And I do want to point out one more thing. We were able to confirm this morning that the local PBS is kind of changing around its programming, aiming it at kids and talking about some of these really ugly things that are happening in our world. I know we were talking yesterday and we've been talking about how do we address this with the youngest people in our society. Back to you.
Yeah, Parker, no matter what, parents are going to have to deal with that one way or another because the kids are going to be talking about it at school. So that's a great little tidbit. You could turn to PBS for some help and some guidance, perhaps.
Yeah, mine came home from school yesterday and they wanted more information, Mom. And I kept telling them, I'll tell you what you need to know, and then we're going to stop talking about this for a little while, and we're going to have a fun night as a family. And I tried to kind of divert them. Not that I don't want to talk about it, but I don't want them focused on it for 5 straight hours until they go to bed.
Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of parents, like I said, we're sort of lucky. Our boy Benjamin, he's only 2, so we don't have to have that conversation right now.
Not yet, not yet. Listen, if you're still searching for information about a loved one or a friend, the hotline is still live. It's a new phone number than the one Metro was using yesterday, so that's important to note. 1-800-536-9488.
Also, you see there that second number on your screen. That is if you have any pictures or videos, if you were in or around that concert area at the time before, during, or even after. The FBI is really asking you to please share with them your videos or your pictures. Again, you might think they show nothing, but let them be the judge of that. So call them at 1-800-255-5324.
Yasmin Hassan, you have one of the most kind hearts, and you have been really moved by the outpouring of support at United Blood Services.
I mean, it's been amazing to see what's happening out here. Earlier, we introduced you to Paul, who flew in from California. I can tell you he hasn't stopped moving since he got out here. They've been unloading all the donations. You can see more and more volunteers out here. We also have grief counselors out here, people waiting to donate, and people here on vacation, stopping their vacation just to come out here and help. You said that you were here yesterday. You heard the news. Tell me what that was like.
I mean, it happened right by us. I didn't hear it. I didn't think anything of it whenever my buddy said, hey, there's an active shooter. You know, I didn't think anything of it. Went to bed and then woke up. My phone was going crazy. Everyone's calling and texting.
And then you came out here yesterday. You're here again today, even though you're not part of Las Vegas. You're here on vacation. Tell me why you wanted to come out here.
People need help. Go help. It's the right thing to do.
Simple as that. People need help, come help. And again, they do desperately need donations. O negative, O positive is the priority, but everything is needed, and the doors open at 9 a.m. And there are multiple locations. We're here at Charleston, right near Rainbow. There's also a location near Green Valley and the Northwest, and you can follow all of that up on our website, ktnv.com.
Yeah, Yasmin, I love his story. I mean, a man of few words, but he says it all right there. People need help, so you go and help, right?
Yeah, well, we've needed a little help around here, too, as we try to bring you around-the-clock coverage. And so our Scripps affiliates have flown some people in. Jennifer Kastner is at UMC doing a great job reporting for us this morning. Jennifer, we appreciate you and your photographer for coming in. What can you tell us from UMC this morning?
Well, Beth, a lot going on here at UMC. More than 100 of the shooting patients are here at the hospital just behind us, dealing with all sorts of injuries, the majority of them being gunshot wounds, but other injuries as well. A lot of injuries associated with trying to flee from the scene as fast as possible. Many people fell, many people were trampled. Also, injuries associated with being hit by vehicles when people were trying to get out quickly. A lot of people were hit by cars and trucks in the area. Again, more than 100 patients here at UMC at this time. We've been reading some of the tweets that people are putting out there about UMC, some of the recent ones from a nurse. She wrote, "My heart is heavy. I'm proud to join these nurse leaders who will be helping and serving UMC and the city of Las Vegas." Also, a recent tweet from a family here in Las Vegas. "Our home is open for families needing a place to sleep. We are only 7 minutes from UMC." You can obviously hear that's a lot of love and support from people in this time of such great tragedy. The sun is now up. We've got some street traffic out here. People coming to work. We've seen a few of the hospital staff going into the main entrance to the ER, which is just behind us, and we will likely get to hear from some friends and family members in the next few hours. Back to you.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. You know, so far throughout much of this broadcast, we have been focusing in on the victims, the families, the heroic efforts by first responders, the surgeons, because that's where our priorities lie as a news station. But still, there are some serious questions right now about the shooter, so we're going to try and address that as well.
Dana?
Yeah, a lot of people wondering where Stephen Paddock got the weapons that he did. There is one gun store that came forward from Mesquite. It's called Guns and Guitars, and they did confirm that he bought weapons from them, firearms. You know, he could have bought many more from other places, but they did put out a statement yesterday, actually, saying, "We mourn for this tragedy, and our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the lost and injured. Mr. Paddock was a customer and purchased firearms from our store. However, all necessary background checks and procedures were followed as required by local, state, and federal law. He never gave any indication or reason to believe that he was unstable unstable or unfit at the time. That's what a lot of people are saying. We are currently cooperating with the ongoing investigation by local and federal law enforcement in any way that we can. And that comes from the owner of the gun store, and it's Chris Sullivan that put out that statement. So answer it, a lot of people say that they are helping police in any way that they can, at least provide the information that they know. Now, meanwhile, our investigative team is uncovering even more details about his past on the Las Vegas Strip. Now, Contact 13 Chief Investigator Darcy Spears discovered a lawsuit that Stephen Paddock filed for a slip and fall at the Cosmopolitan in 2011. And this morning, Darcy has more details on the surveillance video from that case.
On October 30th, 2011, Stephen Paddock was a guest at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. In the lawsuit, he says that as he left a store in the hotel, he slipped and fell on some liquid that had been spilled on the floor, allegedly tearing a hamstring, spraining a wrist, and racking up $32,000 in medical bills. Court records show Paddock was en route to the hotel's high-limit gambling area when he fell. The case went to arbitration on July 31st, 2014. As part of that, the Cosmopolitan showed surveillance video of Mr. Paddock's fall.
And what the video showed is that there was nothing on the floor, that other guests were able to walk through the same area over and over again without having any difficulty. And we also had one of the cleaning people walk through the area about 50 seconds before the fall.
Paddock testified there is no way you were going to see liquid on the floor, but the Cosmopolitan's attorney, Martin Kravitz, says there was more to it.
What we saw from the tape was a man who was probably drunk, who, when he was just walking casually, and because his foot slipped off the sandal, he wound up doing the splits. He slipped and both legs went in opposite directions.
The arbitrator ruled against Paddock and in favor of the Cosmopolitan Hotel. Kravitz says Paddock was a known gambler who for years has frequented many Las Vegas properties.
And in terms of being a witness, he was not aggressive. He was not violent. He was not the kind of guy that you would have thought was going to go out and pull assault rifles and try to kill people.
Sources in the legal community tell us that over the last few days, Paddock is rumored to have lost a lot of money on video poker. There's no way to tell whether that was part of the motive for the shooting, but it may have played a role in his mindset. Darcy Spears, 13 Action News.
All right, thanks, Darcy. And as new details emerge about this horrific shooting, we are learning more about the gunman's close family ties. And Stephen Paddock's father, Benjamin, was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list.
You guys don't print anything, you don't tell anything but lies, you have never been on my side, forget it.
Well, his father was wanted for robbing several banks in Phoenix, Arizona during the late 1950s and early 60s. Eventually, he was arrested in Las Vegas. He escaped jail in Texas, fled to California, and changed his name to Bruce Erickson. Well, he then ended up in Springfield in 1977 to open up a bingo parlor, which was listed as a religious institution on Main Street. But police say that the parlor was a criminal enterprise for gambling.
We are simply a church, and there's no way for them to escape it.
Well, reports say that there are 2 full books worth of crime rap sheets for Bruce Erickson, and police say that Erickson is long gone by now, but some wonder if his son's upbringing by a career criminal served as inspiration for the mass shooting. We simply don't know, but obviously a lot of people really just trying to find some sort of motive or background here that would lead to any type of reasoning to even want to do such a horrific thing.
Yeah, Dana, we are all looking for answers, and I think whatever answers we may eventually get still will never be satisfying in any way whatsoever.
We're beginning to realize just how chaotic it was. Police radio traffic is helping paint that picture as calls broke out when the shots were fired.
We got shots fired, 4:15 ASF. Route 291, sounded like an automatic firearm.
Copy, code red at 169 EDF, shots fired.
We have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the fairgrounds. 179 San is coming from upstairs in the Mandalay Bay. Upstairs in Mandalay Bay, halfway up. I see the shots coming from Mandalay Bay. Halfway up.
Control, this is CP. Just advising there are people down on stage left. Control, that is correct. Shots fired from Mandalay Bay. There's many people down, stage left. Just be advised.
We have multiple casualties. GSW's in the medical tent. Multiple casualties.
My goodness, you know, one of the things that I take from that is you hear the sort of the calm under fire, literally. You hear those bullets going off, and you hear them radioing to dispatch, saying what, you know, describing what it is that they hear, what it is that's going on. It's truly remarkable, the training and level of expertise that so many of our officers showed.
Great reminder too of the heroes who work in dispatch. They really are a lifeline for all of us and a lifeline for the heroes who are running toward the gunfire. We're hearing a lot of stories about heroes from all across the valley, about people coming together to help those injured.
Yeah, we heard about the woman, of course, who even offered up her truck to use to get the injured there to the hospital. And 13 Action News reporter Brian Callahan has more on that.
I was just trying to pull him down because he was trying to look and see where it was coming from, and I'm just trying to pull him down.
People started, they weren't getting down, there were people dropping. You were just seeing them drop, and then there was a security guard literally 10 feet in front of us that maybe 20 minutes before, I had her on my shoulders, and he's all, put your hands up. That same guy, you know, was hit.
Lindsay Paget and her fiance Mark J described the moments as gunshots were ringing down on the Route 91 festival before they ran to get safety inside an airplane hangar. They eventually made their way back to the truck and onto the strip where they saw the chaos.
And we see all these people, and they said, if we need a truck, we'll all load them up. Let's go. Load as many as we could.
We just need to get people over to the hospital, okay?
Tail had to go down because we had actual tables that you would serve drinks on.
Yeah, they were using the railings in the concert to carry people out.
After getting the injured into their truck, they began frantically trying to make their way to a hospital.
We were going over roadblocks, we were going over curbs.
They eventually met up with an ambulance near one of the freeway entrances. Unfortunately, not all of their victims made it.
Said help, I was like, you're gonna be okay. We took them, we put them on the gurney, they went and put him in literally 30 seconds. They're all, we need him out, get that other girl in. I'm like, what? I was like, he's just alive. They're like, he's gone. We put him down, picked up a girl, put her in, another guy that had gunshot wounds in his chest. His fingers were literally holding in from the blood coming out. And then, yeah, they're like, just put that kid down. And I was like, I can't leave him here. So we threw him in the back of the truck.
Mark and Lindsay followed with that man in the back of their truck, as well as another injured person, to the hospital. After the video began making the rounds, people have been calling them heroes, but they don't see it that way.
I just feel like that's what you do. If people need help, you have to take them to the hospital.
And that was Brian Callahan reporting there. Yesterday we showed you an Instagram post by Jason Aldean, the singer that was on stage when the shooting happened, and he has since posted another one, so we wanted to share that with you. Again, sharing the Pray for Las Vegas image. Jason said, it's a long post, so I'm just going to read part of it. He said, over the last 24 hours, I have gone through lots of emotions, scared, anger, heartache, compassion, and many others. I truly don't understand why a person would want to take the life of another. Something has changed in this country and in this world lately, and it's scary to see. I know that toward the end of the post, he says, I'm sorry for the hurt and pain everyone is feeling right now, and there are no words I can say to take the pain away. Just know that you are all in my heart and my prayers as we all go through this together. Time to come together and stop the hate. So obviously a post from Jason Aldean. He's since posted twice, and obviously so many emotions going through his mind, I'm sure, and really knowing that he was up there performing, heard the gunshots, and then the end result is so tragic. So probably very difficult for him as well.
Yes.
Dana, thank you. You know, as we get more and more information about the victims and their names and their identifications, you know, we all should sort of brace ourselves for the possible loose connection that we all may right now unknowingly have with some of these victims. And Justin, you have a family there in central Pennsylvania, and you have a tie to this.
Yeah, my brother, who lives in a small town of 20,000 people in south central Pennsylvania, one of his coworkers was here with his wife. Was involved in the shooting. Family back in Pennsylvania was unaware, unsure of his condition, but passed away last night. So don't want to identify that person. I think word is now starting to trickle out to some of the family and the friends, but really a beloved community member. And just, you know, so sad when it hits close to home, but hundreds, thousands of people going through this same experience. And I'm sort of concerned, and we're going to hear about more people who are in critical condition, maybe who did not fare so well over the next couple of days. So it's just super sad.
How was his wife?
His wife was here. His wife was okay, was at the concerts. From what I've read, they were separated, but she is okay.
I'm so sorry. Please pass on our condolences as you get that bad news. You're still at work for us. There are still a lot of road closures around the site where your brother's friend was killed, and so many others.
The road closures, so they have gotten a little less, but they have been extended until further notice. Las Vegas Boulevard is going to be shut down. You can see it there. That's Trop on the north and Russell on the south. So that's the road closure, and yeah, it's probably going to be a while. Not sure if we have time. You can see the only traffic issue we've got is volume on the 15, the southbound lanes through the Spaghetti Bowl. The volume extends all the way back toward, I believe, Cary on the north side of town, so slow coming from north to south. Weather-wise, we do not have the wind that we had yesterday. But it is chilly. It's in the 50s this morning. Saw Yasmin in her jacket. Temperatures will actually be warmer this afternoon, back in the 80s. But the wind this afternoon could gust to 30 miles per hour. So calm now, but look for gusty conditions this afternoon into this evening.
All right, Justin, thank you so much. Yasmin Hassan has been out in the field for us for the past 24 hours, so Justin doing some traffic duty. We do appreciate that. Here's where she's been. She has been at United Blood Services down on West Charleston.
And you know what? We went on at 4 o'clock this morning, and we saw, what, at least 3 or 4 people already in line. We've heard stories from people. One man who flew in from California, no connection whatsoever, said, you know what, people need help. I'm going to go there and help. We heard from another person who's here on vacation, has given up now. This is the 2nd day in a row trying to line up to give blood. It has just been incredible, the outpouring of support.
Just want to be clear, this is a live picture we're looking at here. So, we saw a lot of these images yesterday, and you might think, oh, that was yesterday. No, people are still there this morning, right now, wanting to donate blood and wanting to help.
And Dana, I know you've also been tracking this GoFundMe account going on right now.
Yeah, it's past 3 million. I think, Indigo, you said it was at 3.1 now,
wow.
as I just walked over
Look
here.
at that.
Yeah, it
Look
was 3.1. So unbelievable to see the number just continue to grow. We've watched, close to 45,000 people donate, $5, $10, some 100, 400. It just depends. All the amounts vary, but it's increase to that. And this is a Las Vegas Victims Fund, so this will go to the victims, and there are so many that are going to need money.
The victims, their families, the people who were injured, who have potentially catastrophic injuries that they're going to have to be dealing with for years to come. So they need all the help they can.
It will be a long day as we get the more names of victims, but we do know for sure that 2 local people were killed in the shooting. Nisa Tonks is one of them. She's a Las Vegas local who worked for an IT company called Technologent. We don't know much more about her. We're looking forward to learning more about her, but a big loss there for all of her colleagues. Nisa Tonks.
And Angela Gomez graduated from Riverside Polytechnical High School in 2015.
So young. Jordan McKildoon from Canada would have turned 24 this week and has lost his life.
Yeah, as has Jenny Parks. She's a kindergarten teacher, a mom of 2 from California. Parks was at that festival with her husband Bobby. He too was also shot, and at last check he was still in the hospital.
We want to pay tribute to Officer Charles Hartfield, who was off duty. He is a Metro police officer. He was down there just enjoying a night of country music when he was caught up in the gunfire, and he has passed away. So our condolences to his family and to the Metro family grieving his loss.
Yeah, we also know there were other officers there who were off duty as well, enjoying the concert, who we know were killed, who were from outside the Las Vegas and Clark County area.
Right, from several California fire departments. Do we have time to listen to some of this country music? The country music community really coming together, and Vince Gill wrote a song with another country artist. It's
Maren
called
Morris.
Thank you so much. Called Dear Hate. They wrote it 3 years ago, but they released it last night, dedicating this song to all of the victims in the massacre.
I saw you on the news today, like a shark that takes my breath away. You fall like rain, cover us in drops of pain. I'm afraid that we just might drown. Dear hate, well, you sure are colorblind. Your kiss is the cruelest kind. You could poison any mind. Just look at mine. Don't know how how this world keeps spinning round and round. You were there in the garden, like a snake in the grass. I see you in the morning, staring through the looking glass. You whispered down through history.
Pretty song.
It's a beautiful song, and sadly appropriate, but a nice way to pay tribute to all those victims. On behalf of all of us here at Channel 13 News, I just want you to know that it has been our greatest privilege to sit with you through this and to hold your hand through it and to try to news gather for you. All of us are really honored that you're choosing us for your coverage right now.
Yeah, hug your family today, people.
Take care.
It was completely horrible, but it was absolutely amazing to see all the people come together.
We need your truck. We just need to get people over to the hospital, okay?
Okay, go ahead. Put them all in the back.
You do what you can in a situation like this.
We are one huge family. When you hurt one of us, you hurt all of us.